a strike away, and it remains for A&M. Time run at the plate. The pitch. Swing and a miss! That's the ball game! How about that? The Aggies scored 2 in the ninth, but the Volunteers, Tennessee, the climb is complete. They have reached the summit. The Volunteers are the very best in college baseball, and the championship flag has been planted on Rocky Top. For the 60th and final time this season, Tennessee says hello Windfall and hello National Championship. Everybody in Ball Nation can stand and repeat or say with me, while they are wearing black, the national champion is clad in big orange. It's Tennessee over Texas A&M. The final score. Ball 6, Aggies 5. The dream has come true. This is Tennessee baseball.
Hang out later.
And how else can you start off the post-national championship podcast? Episode 136 of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. And as you can see right behind me, the Vols have won the national championship in baseball. I'm Nick Hill, live from the great state of Tennessee, the city of Chattanooga. And joining me, as always, is Gustavo Tomazeli down in Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil. We have Jason Wyrick, I believe in Louisville, Kentucky, just across the river. And we have Dylan Becker with us from Disney World.
Yeah.
Wow, guys. I mean, all of the stuff that we've had.
Which is also celebrating, I guess. We can say there's also, or not. I don't know. We're going to talk about that later, but there's, I imagine, some celebration in the state of Florida. But yeah, what about that?
We're gonna get to that. The state of Florida is happy about something, but all of us being Tennessee alumni, I can't believe I'm saying this. There's something more important than the Stanley Cup we got to talk about.
Oh my God! I mean, it's surreal. It is surreal that the Volunteers, through all the adversity, for all the craziness in our athletic department, there was a time 10 years ago where basically every sport we had stunk. And things have built and built and built back up to this moment where finally we have broken through the glass ceiling as an athletic department. Wow. I mean, where do we even want to start with this night here? Because I mean, obviously, it's not just one night. It was a 3-game series against Texas A&M, a series that, Jason, I guess I'll start with you. You saw this coming weeks ago.
Yeah, I'll give Gus. Goodness, my bad, guys. I'll give Gus a few minutes here. I'll ramble. Give Gus a moment to cue up the video. But I am happy to take a victory lap. When I was in Chattanooga with you, Nick, we did this podcast watching Super Regionals live, and I made the prediction that Tennessee would beat all the ACC schools, and that A&M, no question, would be the school that came out of the other side because Jim Schlossnagle is a very good coach. They have a very talented roster. I did accidentally call them TCU once. Because Jim Schlossnagle did used to coach at TCU, but apparently he used to coach at A&M now too. So I feel like Mitch Hedberg, Dylan gets the joke. I feel like Mitch Hedberg, if you know, you know. Gus, roll the clip.
So I'm thinking, so in the bottom half, you'll have Virginia and UNC. And then the other side, I think you'll have Florida and A&M, or you'll have Clemson and A&M. So for Tennessee, we're probably looking at being in a World Series regional with Florida State, Virginia, and North Carolina. So,
I'll take Tennessee over all 3 of the ACC schools.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is Tennessee versus the ACC.
I'll take Tennessee over any of them, and I don't say this as a homer either. This Tennessee team is the most complete team in the country. They have the best lineup in the country, some of the best pitching, definitely some of the best pitching left. And as long as Tennessee takes care of business and plays Tennessee baseball, Tennessee's going to go to the second weekend and play in the championship series. I will take Tennessee over any of those ACC schools.
Now I'm curious on the other side. So if I give you Oregon State, NC State, Clemson, and Texas A&M, who do you think comes out of that side?
A&M.
So we're thinking that Tennessee versus Texas A&M for the title.
I would, if I'm picking right now from who is left and what the pools would be in Omaha, I would take Tennessee versus A&M for the national championship series.
And how do you think that would play out?
I prefer not to speak.
I understand.
I don't want to look. I like Tennessee's chances because I think Tennessee is better. TCU is more well coached.
Oops.
Hats off to Jim Schlossnagle. They're tough. Right. Texas A&M's tough. Anything can happen in Omaha. I think it'll be a very competitive series. I like Tennessee's chances, but I'm not trying to jinx it.
Right. And I'm not even going to think of past this weekend. I just want to get one more win against the Purple Aces to finish this off, and then I'll worry about Omaha. But it could be a very interesting road up in the Cornhusker State next week.
What can I say? Call me Jay Stradamus, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you've been watching college baseball the longest out of all of us, right? And because the ongoing talking point here is that most people in Tennessee didn't care about baseball until post-COVID, and I guess that's where I want to start there. You have watched a lot of college baseball teams. You've watched a lot of really good baseball teams. You watched a lot of really good baseball teams fall short in the postseason. What did this team do differently that resulted in us being able to celebrate today?
I think the number one thing this team did differently is they had the swagger about them to say, hey, we're going to kick your teeth in, but they weren't cocky about it. They had the mental capacity to differentiate between the swag and the confidence without becoming overly confident in the way that saw the 2022 team get upset by Link Jarrett's Notre Dame. That team was better than this year's team, but they played in a way to quote Marvin Dantzler, who I coach football under. Huge respect for Coach D. You have to play with emotion, not in your emotions. And that's the problem that happened with the 2022 team. Now, going back to my Louisville teams, which were the primary heartbreaks pre-COVID, the Louisville teams never played with that swag. They had a lot of talent. So many major leaguers came through the University of Louisville while I was at school there. And the problem that they had was they didn't play with that confidence. They knew they were good, but they didn't play like they knew they were good. And they always went 0-2 in Omaha or got upset. The only team that had that kind of swag, unfortunately, was 2020, which the top two pitchers are both major leaguers right now who have thrown no-hitters in the big leagues. The catcher on that team was the number one overall pick by the Pittsburgh Pirates. And 4 or 5 other guys in that lineup became pretty high draft picks and have done very well for themselves. And then COVID just killed that season. With the same being said about Tennessee, that was really the first team that Tennessee had that showed that the competitive fire could be there. And Garrett Crochet is kind of the big name from that team. But Garrett Crochet kind of ushered in the new era of Tennessee baseball. And he went from pitching at Lindsey Nelson Stadium pre-renovation to pitching for the White Sox in 3 months. The White Sox Major League Club in 3 months. I don't know if anybody had a better 2020 than Garrett Crochet. With that said, though, again, this team played with emotion, but not in their emotions. And they had the confidence about them to go take care of business. They knew they could go out and beat anybody. And that first game against Florida State in the Omaha Regional, the first game, This team had so many errors, and I thought, oh, here we go again. It's another heartbreak. And then they stormed back, and you catch a break, and you take advantage of it. That instills confidence, and I don't think that confidence wavered for the rest of the tournament.
Absolutely. And, that's the moment, that Florida State game, where it felt like, okay, this team's going to win it all. Like, that was this team's 1998 Stoner Stumble Arkansas game.
Yep, 100%.
And from there, it was just a matter of finishing the deal, and that's exactly what they did. Gus, you, like all of us, you got to cover a lot of this baseball team when you were at WUTK. We saw this 2020 team lose their opportunity. We saw that 2021 team really usher in this whole, Tennessee sports are going to be different after COVID. And just what's it feel like now to see this, how this program has gotten to the top?
I'll never forget that Sunday's matchup. I think it was still like March against Vandy and Lindsey Nelson State in 2021. That was one of the most electric atmospheres I seen in Rocky Top that I covered, because some of the games that that happened while I was in Knoxville, I didn't cover, I didn't participate. But that Vandy game, the atmosphere, the build up to what it is today, I knew this team would have been a championship team. Was a matter of was not a matter of if, was a matter of when. And this year, it always felt ready, because even when we had our previous pod, for example, during the SEC championship, we're like, oh, maybe we're gonna skip the SEC championship, go straight to the NCAA tournament, and au contraire, this Vols team took it seriously, won the SEC regular championship, won the SEC regular season champions.
Don't tell that to Kentucky fans, Gus.
I imagine there's none watching this pod. If there's some, Jason will take care of it. And
I should have
SEC
stopped in Lexington today. I really should have. But I didn't. I'm better than that.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to. And the grit of this team. You guys mentioned the Florida State game. Definitely, that was a momentum changer. The way this team rallied to come back. Being down 5 runs, and after that comeback, it felt that this team was ready to be a champion chip team, especially after all the failures, especially the Notre Dame elimination at Lindsey Nelson State. I felt throughout the Tony Vitello era, that was the most heartbreaking loss, because that
Easily.
team was special. That team felt that everybody was like, "This is the year," and we lost at home that chance, and it took a while to recover it. But it was like 2 years to kind of recover it. But when we did, and credit again to Tony Vitello, because it's not easy to keep a program this high for so many years, especially when Tennessee did not have the culture or the or like the culture of being a elite baseball program. I imagine like 9 years ago, 8 years ago, Tennessee baseball wasn't a destination for good players, or even considered to be a mid program. And now, as John Wilkerson said, they are like Nick Saban says, Tennessee climbed the mountain, and now they are the mountain in college baseball.
They weren't even mid. They weren't making Hoover on a year basis. They were not going to the SEC tournament. No one in this state cared about Tennessee baseball. No one ever talked about them. Like, I remembered, I think, going to one game when they had Nick Senzel, and they came down to Chattanooga. I forgot. I think they played Memphis that day. Outside of that, you never saw them on TV, never saw them on the news. No one talked about them.
Which is crazy considering how good Nick Senzel was as a college player and as a prospect. He ended up going number 2 overall in the draft.
Yeah, and they just did not get that type of publicity. And under the previous regime, it just didn't work, and there was no excitement. But Tony Vitello, it's just what he has done is just so different.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I
he,
compare I compare Nick Senzel to Anthony Edwards. You can have a
Yeah,
really talented, special player, but if you don't have the culture, if you don't have the coach,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Well,
it's a very apropos comparison.
one thing I want to point out, Jason, I think I've said this to you a bunch of times over the past 24 hours ish in text. Tony Vitello is the people's coach. I've been calling him.
Oh hell yeah, he is.
Oh, yeah.
Before we started recording, I was watching a little bit of the parade down Gay Street back in Knoxville.
Oh, I did that
And,
too. I cried. I cried.
Yeah,
I cried.
it's awesome. I wish I was there. And
Yeah, me too. Me too.
he's in a convertible. People are like running up to the convertible and like just trying to get up close to him. Every time he signed whatever was thrown in front of him, shook their hand, whatever. And then I'll even throw a personal story into that. My senior year, the last game of the football season was Missouri. He was at Peyton Manning's bar, and when he came out to see everyone, he talked to everyone, signed whatever anyone wanted, took pictures with anyone who asked. Tennessee loves him, and he loves Tennessee, and the results are showing that he said something in his speech that I wrote down specifically if it likes to load. I'm kind of paraphrasing here. When the Vols are down by a lot, we've seen a ton of absolute blowout losses. Something along the lines of the real fans that stick around are the Vols. And you're either a Vol or you're not. Sticking around this long through all the hardships, whether it be baseball specifically or all Tennessee sports, we've earned the right to celebrate finally.
And I want to go back to that point, Dylan, about this, because it has been like, what, 4 years and 6 months that Danny White was hired. I know it was like 3 years and 6 months.
I remember
January.
doing the podcast with you guys.
Yeah, me
At
too.
WUTK, the live reaction to Danny White's hiring, and then Josh Heupel's hiring.
I
Yeah.
It
think
seems like yesterday.
I remember that one. Yeah. I don't think I was on it, but yeah.
And I remember discussing the state of Tennessee athletics back then because it felt like in shambles. Of course, mostly on the football program, but even though baseball today is a spotlight, football is the kind of the big program, and it all
Mhm.
fell
Well,
apart.
sure.
And when football fell apart, the athletics kind of went to turmoil. Philip Fulmer had to step down. And then of course Jerry Pruitt was fired, and through all of that, finding Danny White, and I mean, of course, Tony Vitello wasn't his hire, but he makes sure that he felt valued, and also he makes sure also the infrastructure and everything around the Tennessee baseball program also was valued. That was a credit, that I think he said, or like I heard today during the talk of the parade, how, for example, Lindsey Nelson Stadium, upgrades, made this team stronger.
oh yeah, I mean, because we had the worst stadium in the league, but now it's going to be comparable to other stadiums in the league after these upgrades. The thing about Danny White, we have to remember, we can give him a lot of credit for football and the facility upgrades and stuff like that.
Hey Nick,
John
I got
Curry
a question
hired.
for you.
Yeah,
What's up with your voice? You do a little screaming last night?
I did a little bit.
I didn't want to say anything, but I noticed it too.
Unfortunately,
John-
the viewers here in Chattanooga had to experience my raspy voice today.
Hey,
Back
this
to
is a
John
rare
Curry.
example where it's okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then again, it's a rare John Curry W. Also,
Right, and I was talking about that earlier. I'm like, we ran him out of town over the Greg Schiano deal.
as we should.
And it's just, yeah, it was definitely a wrong place, wrong time, right, for that particular hire. You know, you just wonder, like, how he would have worked out long term if he wasn't ran out of town. Now, granted, things have worked out, but that led to the Fulmer Pruitt situation, which was just even worse. So, and clearly John Curry is smart enough to get Vitello, but I think I would think that he just lucked in to Vitello.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because Tony Vitello was not a head coach. He was an assistant at Missouri, and he had been at TCU, been at Arkansas, had coached under Jim Schlossnagle, had coached under Dave Van Horn at Arkansas, and Schloss at TCU. He was a guy who, he was an up-and-coming guy. He's a shoot for the moon hire. And to John Curry's credit, he may have struck out 57 times, but by God, he's Adam Dunn, because every once in a while, one's going to go 500 feet, and Tony Vitello was his 500-foot bomb.
Right. So definitely thank you to Curry for at least doing this thing right.
And also, and one point is interesting about that whole situation. Maybe all this situations with Lady Vols and football, all that, kind of put the spotlight, and he was able to work quietly and develop this program without any pressure. Then he was able to have time to work it out, because he probably was at least pressure. He didn't have the football pressure, the Lady Vols pressure, even the men's basketball pressure. He could slowly develop this program that what it is right now.
Hell yeah. Have you guys seen the tweets that said where it started versus where it is now?
Mm-hmm.
And you saw probably 50 people at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, and Tony V doing the lemonade stand. Like he had no pressure at all. There were zero expectations. Nobody gave a shit about Tennessee baseball. And then he was able to work, as you said, work quietly, build something. And then by the time we got good, all these Tennessee fans that had been starved for any winning for over a decade in any sport rallied around him and said, "Hey, we're winning. Let's do this." Because the South loves baseball. Let's not act like people in Tennessee don't love baseball. The problem is Tennessee Volunteers baseball has been crap for the entirety of time, sans about 5 other seasons. And 3 of them had Todd Helton on the team. And so it's one of those things where he was able to put in work, and then he kind of was the beneficiary of everybody else being terrible. And he himself has kind of begun to turn the corner for the whole athletic department. He is a microcosm of the whole athletic department. And Peyton Manning had it right last night. The Tennessee Volunteers are coming in everything.
Absolutely. And I was thinking back to what was the first Vitello memory I have. I think I was watching the first time he made the tournament in 2019. They were playing UNC. And they came up short in that regional, but I remember watching that in London and being
Shout
impressed.
out to the Pride.
Yeah. Actually, that was not with the Pride. That was.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I'll
the
shut
Pride
up.
went there last year, but this was back in 2019, back when England was still in the European Union.
Yeah, you're dating yourself now. You're old.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I'm an old guy. Yeah, I just turned 26 yesterday, so
Oof.
getting up to that age.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Yeah, thank you. But anyway, but I remember
You
seeing
need some
this game's
Tylenol for that
competitive.
age?
Maybe.
For those,
And then I
for
remember
those wondering, I'm 28, so this is all a.
I'm the
This is
most
tongue in
ancient
cheek.
one. I'm 30. I'm the ancient one.
Old.
Old.
He's old.
Ancient one. I'm the wisdom. I'm the ancient.
Yeah.
Old.
But
Go back to your point, Nick.
But then I remember in the COVID year, I remember going to, I think it was, they were playing Western Illinois and they were blowing the crap out of them. I'm like, okay, it's a pretty good team. And of course, we never got to see what that team could be. And that 21 happened and it just has been off to the races since.
And I remember, I remember during the early COVID time, I was lucky enough. I had a chance to interview him over the phone, and I remember how he was locked in. And even though everything was chaotic, he was still developing and planning for the next season, which ended up being the starter of everything that has happened. Because that build up from 2021 on, that led to the national championship. The build up, even though from the heartbreaks and all of that, that built this team into with the national championship last time.
I mean, what Tony Vitello has done is a prime example of community building, and it goes beyond sports. For any business, for any organization, look towards Tony V and how you develop a relationship with your community, with your customers, because he went from having 300 people show up at his first game to having thousands travel to Omaha, thousands willing just to go to Knoxville. I was willing to get home tonight at 2 a.m. and turn right back around to go to work because of what he has done.
So the super whack thing about that is, I think it was last week when I was taking pictures at the park. I get a ton of go Vols just because I see the orange, I call it out. Got to represent.
Sure.
And someone came up to me. I took their picture and stuff. They said, "I got to go. My flight for Omaha leaves in about 8 hours." So people everywhere are flocking to Tennessee as a program just because of its excitement.
True, and I think it's not just Tennessee. Like, it's the entirety of college baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, college, and I think Tennessee, in a way, is rubbing off on
Welcome to the bandwagon, y'all.
Like, you can have fun while playing baseball. Who knew? It's a game. You can have fun. And all of these Arkansas fans and LSU fans and Vanderbilt fans who have been whining and complaining about the way Tennessee plays baseball, about the way Tony Vitello conducts himself, can all go kick rocks today because we have proven you can win like this.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
And, I saw Greg McElroy. He went on a rant on absolute hack, saying that, Tony Vitello's classless because he jumped into the stands. Because
give me a break. Give me a
people's
break.
Coach. He wants to be with the people.
Where was the hate for Newgarden then?
And that, it was classless that, he, drunk the Gatorade bath and started, dogpile of his own players. I'm like, is he not allowed to celebrate with his team?
Yeah.
Not when you're in Tennessee and you're being talked about by an Alabama quarterback who lost his national championship game.
Do you guys remember, I want to say it was 2 years ago, I think we were playing Alabama, and Tony Vitello got suspended for lightly chest bumping the umpire, and the umpire fell like he got shot. Tony's an absolute firecracker.
Yeah.
And whether he's in the
he's
greatest
the first
mood
to
ever,
admit it, too.
Yeah.
He's self-aware.
Oh, he embraces it. I remember a couple days later on campus, I don't know which fraternity it was. They booked him to chest bumps for charity. It was awesome.
Shout out to my dear friend, my Rio Branco fan, Marcelo Neves Mazo. He has a fan
We
group
love you,
called
Marcelo.
Metal Tigre. We're gonna talk about. A gente vai falar do Rio Branco mais pra frente. We're gonna talk about Rio Branco later. But one thing interesting. Do you know?
Marcelo.
Do you know which team was the first team that Tennessee faced under Vitello? Do you guys know?
No.
The University of Maryland.
Wow! How about that?
How about that, Dylan? And Tennessee lost 4-0 with the attendance of 1,312 fans. So that
was that in Lindsey Nelson or was that in
Lindsey Nelson
Park?
Stadium? Lindsey Nelson Stadium.
I always love it when we can bring the Terps into it.
Turtle soup.
Hey, back then.
I only like them because they're my home state school. That being said, I'm a Vol fan through and through. I did go to a Terps game in February because.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah, it was boring. Nobody cares. Nothing against them, but it's like maybe it's because it was Valentine's Day. I don't know. People were out doing romantic stuff.
I think the only thing that the University of Maryland is known for is
Old
being
Bay.
Angel Reese's first school.
Yeah, fair enough.
Absolutely.
But
One thing we really haven't talked a lot about is the players. We haven't talked a lot
Yeah,
about
we should do that.
and because, hey, and Tony Vitello himself would be like, hey, guys, why are you talking all this time about me?
Yeah.
Talk about my team. So let's talk about this team.
And to answer Tony Vitello's hypothetical question, because it's what he's built. I mean,
Mhm.
he wants to deflect all of the praise, and I love that about him. But let's be real, he deserves a shit ton of credit. And
Yes.
so I want to. This is my round of
Yep.
applause for Tony Vitello and what he's been able
Stick
to
tats
do.
for Tony, as we say in the hockey
I'll
world.
give it a Billy Amick applause. Everybody. Yeah.
Go
My
listen
board
to The
voice.
Stroke by Billy Squire.
Yeah. But in any case,
I'm having so much fun tonight.
my question.
Oh,
Nobody,
yeah,
nobody can tell me shit for the rest of the time.
It
We're a national champion.
Yeah.
and it would have been awesome if we could have done this yesterday, but we were all not exactly in the right mentality to do it.
Exactly.
No chance.
Yeah. I thought so. Even Nick called me. I was like, enjoy today. You deserve. Like when I was at the parade for the promotion for Rio Branco, I wasn't ready to do anything live or anything like that because the feeling is surreal. I was privileged enough to have that feeling, so I cannot even imagine what the Sean Burrows is feeling. He's the PR guy for Tennessee baseball. I cannot even imagine how he's feeling because if I, kind of from PR to sports PR, working with a team and seeing them winning and be a champion, it's surreal. It's a feeling that I cannot even describe. So I cannot even imagine what Sean Burrows is feeling right now. He's the PR for the baseball Vols. So
Get
shout
that
out.
man a ring.
Yeah, give yes, he deserve a ring because I got my medal for the title, so he should deserve a ring.
I bet he'll get one.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right,
So-
but
But you
back
know
to
who
the
won't get
players.
one?
We're still having fun.
I'm gonna have one more fun comment. You know who's not getting a ring? Chase Burns.
Oh yeah. And
I-
before we get into the current players, how stupid does Chase Burns feel right now?
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, I think it was
Addition by
critical to this
subtraction.
team he wasn't there.
Yeah, and this is the same conversation, Nick, that you and I had already. He was addition by subtraction. He was a cancer to
Mhm.
this team, and you can be an electric pitcher, but you could be a great player,
Yeah.
but if you are detrimental to the team, you're not. It's not worth having you around. And Nick, I think you compared him to Kyrie Irving in the Celtics, and I think that's a very good comparison.
I'll make another one within baseball. The Nationals won the World Series the season after Bryce Harper left. It somehow worked out for them. He's one of the best players in the league, but they were able to do it without him. Granted, the Nationals suck now, but you can't take away that title from them. And Jason, like you said, addition by subtraction.
Yeah, I mean I agree with you, but I also don't want to categorize Bryce Harper as like a cancer because I don't think he
Oh
is.
no.
But Chase Burns is supposed to be known for being kind of a cancerous teammate, and I think that plays into this a lot. I think that having guys like Xander Sechrist, having guys like AJ Russell, those types of players, while they and that's what talent will only take you so far. Talent will only take you so far.
Absolutely. And, look at what Wake Forest did, right? They were the number one team preseason this year, and they couldn't win a single
They
game.
didn't even host a regional. They were in the Greenville regional in East Carolina. They didn't even host.
Shout out Nick Stringer saying, "Go Vols." Did I say it right?
Noted Kentucky fan, but former Louisville baseball player Nick Stringer. Go Vols. I never thought I would hear him say. Somebody screenshot that for me because that's never coming back ever.
Oh, it's recorded. It's recorded on the Guzna, the YouTube, my Facebook, so you can come
I have
back
captured
and
it.
capture it anytime you want.
Shout out to Nick.
Yeah. Now shout out for my B-Day. Thank you so much.
Jason, how'd you make those hearts fly around?
I made hard hands.
Oh no, and that they're
Yeah,
What in the
I'm-
you guys seeing that?
Hold on, let me try this.
We're getting distracted again, but this is fun.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Man,
only
this is what
Jason.
you
I don't
do.
know.
I
This
guess
is what
I'm
you
just
do when you
special.
win a national championship.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, we're all running on minimal sleep, and we're on clouds 9,
Yeah,
10, 11, and 12. What do we care? Nobody,
sunburned,
like I said before,
dehydrated.
nobody can tell us anything for weeks.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, but enough
I'm
about Chase
sunburned to a
Burns.
crisp also. I mean, if you see my arm, I'm darker than Nick Hill normally is. So
Normally is, but I've been spending a lot of time in the pool and outside, so I am really dark right now.
we are off the
Or it's
rails, but
unfair.
I'm here for it.
Not to bring up the
Hamilton-
bad guys, I'm about as crimson as an Alabama jersey right now. So, Whew.
Forrest Gump was
Yeah.
overrated.
Okay,
There's
I
your
can agree with
Alabama
that.
insult for the day.
I do love that movie, but in any case, our friend group is on an amazing run. He has the Celtics, now the Vols, Bears football next.
I think it's Texas football because Aaron's had nothing. Well, I guess he had the Stanley Cup a couple years ago as a Blues fan, so whatever. But
Fair enough.
we're getting there. We're slowly but surely lifting the curses.
Absolutely,
These things take time.
man.
Let's talk about
Where's it
the
gonna
current
go?
players.
Yeah. So, all right. I think I'm going to start with pitching and defense because that was my concern heading into this tournament. And let's be real, against Florida State, they didn't play very well. But you have to give credit to Drew Beam and Xander Sukras. Let's start with them because we saw the Chris Stamos, AJ Causey opener situation didn't really do well in Omaha at all. But the other two, Beam and Seacrest, were very solid in their starts.
And I think it's important to recognize that the continuity, even though it didn't work, the continuity and just sticking with the routine and not changing things up was still very important, even if it did lead to some early deficits. I think it was still better off doing that than trying to switch it up and get too cute with it. Truly, I believe that. So for Stamos and Causey, bless you guys. You guys are the best. You guys get hearts as well.
We're going to be
Absolutely.
using that a lot now that we know that
Yeah.
works.
Absolutely. And obviously hearts to y'all too, but I never want to see Stamos starting a game ever again. But,
Now that AJ Russell will be healthy, hopefully he comes back to doing his one inning of relief, his short
Absolutely.
relief appearances.
Absolutely. And making up the reliever, but like Beam and Xander. I mean, yeah, I know Dylan Darling got MVP. We'll get to him in a second, but man, they were so good. I mean, Beam especially, because in that game on Sunday, the Vols offense was not playing well at all in that game. We were leaving the bases loaded twice early on, and you could get the sense that people felt like, oh my God, we're going to lose because we can't score. But Drew Beam kept it within striking distance. And then, and then Aaron Cones came in and kept it within striking distance. And it was just so huge.
Look, I'm not going to take anything away from Drew Beam. That guy is awesome. But my MVP for this entire tournament is going to be Xander Seacrest. I'm sorry, it has to be. In 6 starts in this postseason, so including the SEC tournament and then the NCAA tournament, Xander Seacrest pitched 6 games and gave up 4 earned runs. Big game Xander did big game Xander things.
Yeah, Nick said that he is one of the nastiest left-handed pitchers I've ever seen. And you're making an interesting observation, Jason, last night about his stance. Just talk about what he was doing with his heels and how that can affect him as a pitcher.
Yeah, so Xander Seacrest, a lot of pitchers will stand kind of offset to the rubber on the mound, which is the white plate that goes across the bump. And Xander, I kept seeing him. He was just toe tapping it, but with his heels, and he was offset a little bit, but he also was not hardly touching the thing.
And that's what you have to do when you're not throwing gas, because you got to get every little advantage that you can. It's still 60 feet 6 inches, but not every 60 feet 6 inches is the same. And I know that doesn't sound like it makes sense, but if you know baseball and you understand what I'm saying, you can step all over the pitching plate, the rubber, or you can just touch it with one spike on your heel, and you can get a couple extra inches, which when you're only throwing in the low 90s, which Xander Sechrist is, that can be the difference, because that little bit less of a space that you're throwing from. So instead of 60 feet 6 inches, maybe it's 60 feet and 1 inch. That extra 5 inches that you get, that could be a mile an hour or more over the course of the flight of the ball. And Nick Stringer in the comments knows this better than anybody, as a former pitcher himself. Any advantage you can get is one that you want, and Xander Sechrist knows how to play to his advantage, and his motion itself is not too crazy, but the way that he was standing there, he was getting just a little bit extra on it. It's the equivalent of being like 6'8", like the guy who was pitching for A&M on Sunday. Being tall, your stride is longer, and you're throwing the ball from a little bit closer than you would have otherwise. Any little thing like that. And Xander Sechrist, who is not a big guy, he doesn't throw heat, and he doesn't really throw the nastiest stuff. He has to come up with all the advantages that he can get, and he's really good at mixing his pitches. He's really good at painting the zone, and he gets a little advantage by, just digging his heel into the rubber instead of putting his whole foot on it. And you know what? It works. And he did big game Xander things, and now we're here celebrating this national championship.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me is how he worked his way into that role, because he wasn't in that role until this year, and wasn't in that role until injury forced him into that role. He was a midweek starter, and what he said last night is Monday is a midweek day, and it's really funny. And just his attitude, like, he wasn't fazed at all, was not fazed at all by the moment. He was just like, oh, it's another baseball game. I'm going out there, and
He went out and said it's a midweek game. That's what I do. Like, that is some BDE, truly.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell his teammates just love him. And, I know Nick Stringer mentioned the man with the mustache, of course, our beloved Kirby Connell, who gets to end his career on the absolute right note. And he pitched in every single game in the College World Series. And to be honest, he was shaky at times in Omaha. But his last appearance was so clutch.
Yeah. And I will be the first to admit, I did not want to see Kirby Connell pitch yesterday for the Vols. I didn't. And I was telling Nick yesterday, I don't want to see him. They have seen him well. They have hit him well. That makes me nervous. And he came in and he slammed the door. And that's what separates Kirby Connell. Even when they're seeing him, he can mix his stuff and he can go and slam the door anyway.
And another point, I know we're praising him so much, and that's why he deserves. And Tony Vitello, he trusts his guy. He trusts his players because, as you mentioned, Jason, it wasn't a good scenario for Corby. Not being very effective in the College World Series, but Tony Vitello's like, I trust him. I know what he can do, and he delivered.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that a lot of people have had a problem with Tony Vitello for, is leaving in pitchers too long and trusting them too much. But here's the thing. When you trust your guys to get the job done, you're going to have hiccups. You're going to have bumps in the road. There will be times they let you down. But it's moments like this where that trust is important. Because if Kirby Connell gets thrown into that game, knowing that Tony V doesn't trust him as much as he could, how do you think he goes out there? He goes out there looking over his shoulder. But if you instill confidence in your guys, even when they are beaten, even when they go out and can't finish the job, even when they go out and pitch in a subpar way, especially pitchers, but play in a subpar way. When you trust your guys and instill that confidence in them, they go out there with the confidence, that they can do it. And the weight of the world is off their shoulders because they're not over there looking over their shoulder like, what if I mess up? And that's so important. People don't understand how important that is, especially for a pitching staff, to be trusted. And I understand why people don't like that Tony V leaves his guys in too long. I get it. But this moment right here is the epitome of why that's important.
And Jason, you speak with authority. You coached baseball, so you know
Yeah.
how that feels, how all that environment plays out.
Yeah, if you don't believe in your players, then how are you going to expect them to believe in themselves? It's really that simple. You have to be the first believer in your guys when you are the head coach of a baseball team. You have to be the first one that believes in them.
Just a
If
coach
you
in
aren't going to
general.
believe in them, right? But especially in baseball, when it's such an individualized game, it is you versus the batter as the pitcher. And if you're the batter, it's you versus the pitcher. Everybody else is out there playing defense, but it's you and him. It's not like, in soccer where you can kind of patchwork a team together as long as you got 3 or 4 guys, or basketball or whatever. It is you and him. And if you aren't instilling that confidence in your players, how do you expect them to have confidence in themselves when the lights get bright? Tony V has all the confidence in the world in his guys, and you saw it last night. Aaron Combs balks a guy to third, and then throws a wild pitch and scores. The 5th run of the game, up 6-5, with the tying run at the plate in the 9th inning of the national championship game, and he's out there laughing. He is out there laughing, and it was at that moment that I stopped being nervous, because that's maniacal to laugh in that situation. But that shows that he has 10,000% confidence in himself. And what does he do? He immediately goes out and strikes him out in cold blood. That's what believing in your pitchers can do for your pitchers.
Yeah, Nick Stringer says it perfectly. I don't care. I didn't care if a coach believed in me or not. This is what you've worked for your entire life. Believe in your stuff and yourself, or no one will have. But no one will. But having a coach give you the tip of the hat is the biggest sign off in the world. And yeah, it's all about that confidence.
I agree with that. I think that mentality is very important. But when you're a pitcher out there and you're having to look over your shoulder worrying if you're going to get pulled or not, or if you're batting and you're worrying, like, okay, if I don't get 2 hits today, or I don't move the batter over today, if I have an off day, am I going to get pulled from this lineup? That's what I meant. I agree with everything Nick said, but to clarify my point, when you're looking over your shoulder, that's not a healthy way to play baseball. And when you do have a coach that instills that confidence in you, and it tells you, go out there and play your game, I believe in you, you believe in you too, let's go win the damn thing. That's the confidence boost that he's talking about. The biggest tip, or the biggest sign off. He's right. That's exactly right.
And pitching is probably the most psychologically difficult position in baseball, since you're always being monitored. You have to try to outsmart the batter. The batter's trying to guess what you're going to be throwing at them. You're thinking about 1,000 things at once, and it seems so simple as throwing a ball. Anyone can throw a ball, but not anyone can pitch a ball. It takes a certain mental strength to do it.
Yeah, it's like kicking in football.
Or like Nick Stringer saying, goalie in hockey.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
And we haven't shouted him out yet, but shout out to Frank Anderson, the pitching coach on this team.
Great.
Tony Vitello is amazing, and Frank Anderson is his right-hand man to get.
What a hire he was.
Because he was about to go to Arizona State, but then Tony V convinced him to come here instead. And, we've talked about it the past 2 games, Jason, but our pitchers are so aggressive and our pitch counts tend to be so low because of that, because we attack. We attack for better or for worse.
Yeah, and you have to do that.
if you have pitchers with good stuff that can pound the zone, the easiest way to win baseball games over the course of a season is to just pound the zone. Of course, pitching around guys will keep them from getting good hits off of you. But when you're pitching well, you don't care if a guy hits a double into the gap because you're going to go after the next guy and he's not going to matter anyway. And that's the kind of confidence and the kind of mentality that Frank Anderson instills in these guys. And I think it perfectly matches Tony Vitello's aggressiveness. Tony Vitello is a very aggressive coach. And going right after these guys is a strength because not a lot of people, not a lot of staffs, not a lot of pitchers are willing to do that. And when you can do it, it works to your advantage beautifully.
Absolutely. And I kind of
then you can set up my favorite pitch in the world as well, Nick. What's coming next?
The backdoor slider.
I felt like I was in the movie Moneyball. All right, so why do we want him? Because he gets on base every time. Righty, lefty matchup. 2 strikes, backdoor slider, like clockwork, every time. I will not hear any other arguments. The backdoor slider, when you can hit it, is the best pitch in all of baseball with 2 strikes. And Frank Anderson was not afraid to call it. It kept coming up and coming up and coming up, and we kept missing bats.
Absolutely. And, when it comes to A&M's offense, I do wonder if at times they got really frustrated and they started maybe the further they got in the series, they got more impatient, I think, because they were getting frustrated.
Yeah, and that's what attacking the zone can do for you. Sure, like in the first game, it might get you into a little bit of trouble sometimes, but over the course of a season and over the course of even a 3-game series, it will start to even out if you can attack the zone as a staff.
Oh, for sure. But let's transition to some of the position players, to kind of look at how they did offensively and defensively, because, big fan of the tall shortstop you guys have. Do you think he'll transition to third base in the pros? Because there's Lincoln Armstrong. So Dean Curley is who is
I think that's a
freshman.
really good shout. I think that's a really good shout from Nick. At face value, yes, but because he's so young, I think he has the ability to grow into his athleticism. And I think that third base is a possibility, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a probability.
Absolutely.
But I think he's definitely.
So good.
I definitely think that he is capable of playing third base, though. I think he's more than capable of playing third base.
He says reminds him of a young A-Rod position-wise. Not sure in hitting. He was pretty solid as a hitter this year, especially for a true freshman. And I think about how good of a freshman you have to be a starter on this roster. Like, you have to be insane.
He's special, and always when you're walking up and you hear California Love playing, and then he goes up there and just mashes. That's a pretty good omen.
Yeah, Nick's like true freshman. Yeah. So he's gonna be sticking around the Rocky Top for a little bit.
We hope.
Yeah.
I don't see why not, but we hope.
Yeah. Well, at least for the 3 years until it, he has to go to the league. But you just look at the top of the order. Of course, Christian Moore, obviously legendary game against Florida State. Didn't get off to the best start in this series, but he delivered both offensively and defensively when necessary.
Yeah, and really quick before I forget, Dean Curley, I want to shout him out for the botched double play where the ball came off of the palm of his glove and he just swatted it to second base. That was incredible. But Christian Moore, I think, is the best player in terms of overall talent on this roster, and it's going to be reflected in this year's Major League Draft. I think he goes probably in the top 10 of the draft, at minimum, probably top 15. And I think he's going to be a very good major leaguer. He is somebody who already possesses, major league quality hitting talent. We'll have to see how it transitions with a wooden bat, but he's a guy who hits for power, but I don't think that pop is specific to an aluminum bat. I think he's going to be fine, and I think he plays well enough at second base that he'll be a decent defender, at the next level. I don't think he'll ever be a plus defender necessarily, but that's why he's at second base.
Oh, for sure. And it's still insane to me. He wasn't first team All American or won any national awards. But as Tony V said in the celebration, we got the trophy we wanted. And, same thing for Blake Burke and, Billy Amick, obviously both big bats all year, and they both had their moments. I mean, Amick struggled. I thought he struggled on defense throughout the tournament. But, he did what he needed to do when the ball came his way and got a big hit there in the 7th last night. That set up some big hits right behind him.
He didn't get a whole lot of action at third base. And I think that's one of the downsides of having a staff that attacks the zone so aggressively is you don't really have down the line hits off of guys that attack the zone like that. Normally, if you're making good contact, you're putting it into the alley, and that's why you see a lot of singles and even doubles if they're harder hit, just kind of into the gaps in the outfield. And so it almost is like, okay, he just didn't have a whole lot of reps there. And at the pro level, you're going to get a whole lot more reps at third base. Billy Amick's another guy I think could potentially play second base at the next level because of his defense, but I think he's okay to play third base. I think he's got the arm strength, and I think once he gets back into a rhythm, he'll be okay. It's not like he was a scrub at Clemson.
Oh, absolutely. And obviously we'll never forget his legendary walk-up with the Billy Squire and the seal clap. And, man, I'm going to miss that because that was awesome. Especially, like, in a really, really big moment. Like, it's just euphoric to do that. But then you look at the outfield. Oh, my gosh, this outfield. I mean, they took so many hits in Omaha. Like, our outfield versus the wall out there was a battle. In this,
I saw somebody on Twitter say that we need to get that like one piece of padding from that one section and bring it back with us and put it up at the stadium somewhere, which honestly I could get behind.
Yeah, because we were pounding that thing, but we caught it basically every time. We caught that sucker. Obviously Hunter Inslee, Kavaris Tears, man. Yeah, they had Dylan Dryland all had huge series, especially Dylan Dryland, of course, who won the most valuable player. First of all, should we think, he was the right pick? I know he hit a homer in each of the 3 championship games. And obviously it was just very clutch when he did hit because he hit the go-ahead run in Game 2 and then obviously hit a clutch insurance homer in Game 3.
I don't think you can go anywhere else. I don't think that he put on the best performance, but I think he put on the most deserving performance for the award. If it were up to me, it would be Xander Sechrist. I think he had the best performance out of anybody. But the problem with that is he only pitched in one of the games. Dylan Dryling hit 3 home runs in 3 games, and 2 of them were just absolute clutch piss missiles. And so, with that being said, I think I'm okay with that. And he made. He made some plays on defense as well. He was somebody who was out there doing his job, and at the dish, he was contributing at a very, very, very high level. I'm okay with it, personally.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Kavaris Tears, when I look at all the players on our team, he looked like the guy that's like, that's going to be a major leaguer. Like, he just looks so smooth out there. Like, he's gliding in the outfield.
I can get that. He's a very raw player, though. The problem that I have with Kavaris is he played, like, the game is almost too fast for him, and it showed a little bit, especially in this championship series when he was faced with elite pitching. He was too aggressive at the plate, and
I just want to mention real quick, today's probably the most audience we had on Twitter on our podcast. So shout out to people on my Twitter at Gustavo Tomazeli. Probably the most watched episode on Twitter of this podcast.
Hey, it's the Vols National Championship, the Vols win party.
Honestly, I think it should just be the championship party because we had a ton of stuff happen last night.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll get to your hockey shit later.
Oh, oh no, this is definitely the priority. Hey, even I think it's hockey crap.
And see, that's when you know. That's
Yeah.
when you know when Dylan Becker is saying that it's just the hockey crap. And Dylan loves hockey. I love hockey. Dylan really loves hockey. So
right. Nick Stringer said that tears caught his eye the most, other than Xander, from all the players out there. But
he's somebody
think,
when the game slows down, he's going to be really, really dangerous. I think he's somebody. I think he's somebody that can make the Christian Moore type jump going into next season. Christian Moore looked like that last year, and he developed. The game slowed down, and he developed into one of the best, most complete players in the country, and it's going to show in July when he's drafted in the top 10.
Yeah, and also we can't forget our catcher Cal Stark, who, to be fair, we were giving him some grief. I was giving him some grief, like he wasn't hitting anything. He didn't have a single hit until game 2, but then when he finally broke through, he knocked that thing out of the park, and obviously was great as a catcher throughout the entire postseason.
He was excellent defensively until about the 9th inning and of game 3. He was excellent. He had multiple pickoffs. So this is catching a pitch and then immediately throwing to first base. He had multiple of those in Omaha. He had some very, very, very good blocks on some wild pitches, what could have been wild pitches. He is somebody that's going to get a shot at the next level just for his defense.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this team as a whole, because this team won 60 games this year. It won the SEC regular season, the SEC tournament, the national championship. And,
hell yeah, we won the Natty.
We won the Natty.
I'll admit, I'm not the biggest college baseball historian out there, so I'm not qualified to answer this following question. Where does this Tennessee team rank among all-time college baseball teams? Because when you look at the talent, when you look at the accomplishments, when you think about the league they play in, I mean, how many teams realistically could have achieved what this Tennessee team just did?
I think 60 wins, while it is a very impressive number, you also have to think that was inflated because of the SEC tournament loss in the first game. Played a couple extra games because of that. But let's not act like 60-13, I think, was the final record. Let's not act like that's not really freaking impressive. And so I think the talent stacks up fairly well. I think I've seen more talented teams. Vanderbilt 2015, I believe it was. Or maybe it was 2014. They had Carson Fulmer, who was the number 8 pick in the draft. They had Walker Buehler, who was the number 20-something pick in the draft, as their two primary starting pitchers. They had Braves legend Dansby Swanson playing shortstop, who was the number 1 overall pick in that draft. They were loaded. And then you've got teams like LSU had last year. You had Paul Skeens, and you had other guys who went pro. And then you've got, teams like Louisville in the 2020 season, which, obviously never got to play, but had LA Angels pitcher Reed Detmers, who has thrown a no-hitter or multiple no-hitters at the major league level. You had Bobby Miller, who was playing for the Dodgers in their rotation, who has thrown a no-hitter at the major league level. And you've got a catcher in Henry Davis, who was the number 1 overall pick by the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't think the talent level is on that kind of a pedestal, but in terms of the best teams, this team's got to be up there. Sure, it may not be the most talented team, but this is the epitome of a team. These guys were a team through and through, and they didn't rely on any one guy. That's what separates this team from, like, Florida. Florida has the best player in the country, Jack Caglianone, and they rely on him. Tennessee is better because, sure, we don't have that kind of talent, but we've got a bunch of guys who are really, really good, and I think that's really important. In baseball, that's super important because you can build the best super team you want, and you still don't win. Just ask the Yankees. Just ask the Dodgers how that works.
You can assemble the most talent and still not win.
Oh yeah, and that happens all the time in the MLB. I guess one of the last volley things we want to ask, just beyond baseball, um, how does other Tennessee sports take this momentum and bring it to football, bring it to basketball? You know, because now we know we can win natties on Rocky Top, and I want to win more. You know,
I
it
think the
can
current.
have an effect.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think the drought being over, I think it could potentially open the floodgates. If the confidence is there, the belief is there, why not us? Why not us?
See, what one of the
Next
things I
Tennessee will
wrote
take that.
down when I was kind of thinking of stuff to talk about, I wrote down specifically what would a football parade look like nowadays? Because we saw what the baseball parade looks like. Tennessee loves their baseball. Don't get me wrong.
And let's talk about
Imagine,
this. And let's talk about this parade. I mean, I saw it.
might as
Uh,
well, yeah.
I saw it, of course. Like you, Dylan. I guess like Nick and Jason online. Thank God
I
for the.
I
Thank,
slept through it. I'm sorry. I have no comment about the parade. I've
uh,
still got to go
I,
watch it.
and shout out to WVLT. They did a great coverage, by the way.
Mhm.
They really stand out.
WBIR as well.
Yeah, I
Everyone,
only
yeah.
no, I only found it
Yeah.
online. I only found it on WVLT. I tried
It's
to
all
look
good.
at the other ones. I couldn't find it. To be
It's all
honest.
good. I took it off the athletic department YouTube channel, so we all have our ways. The point is we all watched it.
Yeah, you guys are
Well,
lucky because I
my
was
bad.
talking to my colleague here, Real Bronco. I wish we had that here. For example, in Americana there was nothing like that for our promotion parade, our title parade, nothing like that. No TV coverage, live, nothing like that. And so that's something you guys should really don't take for granted. That's really awesome. And the parade itself, of course, it's the middle of the summer, so definitely kind of
Mhm.
that prompt up. It's very hot weather. It's vacation time. There's a lot of people that are free time, but definitely the excitement that Dylan pointed out. If this is for baseball, imagine for football.
Yeah,
Because that
and
was a hell of a parade.
also shout out to them being able to throw it all together in less than 24 hours
Oh,
because
yeah.
a little preview. Stanley Cup parades take a few days to plan. That being said, the celebration starts as soon as it's all over. But if that's how a Tennessee baseball parade looks, what's a basketball parade going to look like? What's a
And-
football parade going to look like? Ideas like that, it sounds weird because you're kind of competing to make everyone just go as feral goblin mode as possible for the parade, within safety reasons, of course. But
No,
it's you guys are getting what I'm saying.
no, of course,
How?
and
Yeah.
and one point to you, Dylan. I lived through a team winning a championship with my beloved Bronco, and I know behind the scenes how hard it is to throw a parade, to throw like a celebration title party. You have to talk to the police, to the fire
Mhm.
department. You have to have planned the stage. You have to plan out the order of how things are going to go. You have to talk about what streets you're going to close. Everything like that. It takes a really big effort to put everything like that. And from the organization that I saw, from them to put up not in 24 hours, like less than that, like what, 9 hours.
Something like
From
that.
Yeah, for 9 hours, because from the last pitch of the game to 6 p.m.
10:40 or
Eastern
something like
time.
that.
Yeah, it's like what, 20 hours, 19 hours. And so it is really hard because Rio Broncos Parade, of course, was way smaller than the Tennessee one, and it was really hard to put it all together. Shout out to my really big colleague and friend Guilherme Santos, our marketing guy, who put everything together. So I don't know who was the responsible for the Tennessee baseball, like we had in Rio Branco, but he sure had a really busy time. And it is hard because you have to plan out everything, but it's not certain.
Mhm.
it all depends on the result of the field because you plan everything, but then things fell apart. You have to cancel, so it's a
Yeah.
very stressful kind of situation.
It could rain. The team could end up losing, even if you start planning ahead. A thousand things can go wrong. Um, those are just being the ones that can apply to generally anyone. And then, yeah, it a lot goes into planning it, and they were able to pull it off in less than a day. So shout out to our athletic department, the Knox County parade department or whatever. Just everyone involved being able to get
Yeah,
that
I
done.
imagine they had to organize with the city of Knoxville,
Mhm.
Knox County, police department, organized with the Knoxville Police Department, and they had to, and they did perfectly. And
Yeah.
from what I saw, no incidents, nothing.
Now, I
Absolutely.
want to.
And I also want to shout them, first and foremost, it just goes to show how well oiled a machine our athletic department is and how good of a director Danny White is to be able to pull this off and to be able to be in a complete control. But I want to also show some videos from last night as well from Vol Village where Jason and I were. I've got it queued up here, Gus. If you want to pull it
There's
up.
one video I'm hoping we do get to see. Jason, you can probably guess which one it is.
Yeah.
There are a lot of videos, but
I
the one edited video is definitely one that I feel like is probably going to be a favorite.
Oh yes, we need to show the waggle thing. But
I really quick before we go into this, I want to say one thing about what a football parade would look like. Because not only are you going to have to shut down all of Cumberland Avenue, all of Market Square, all of Phil Fulmer Boulevard, it's going to be one big giant ball walk. You might have to plan a parade in a second city or even a third city. Nashville, Chattanooga, even Memphis potentially. You might have to plan parades in multiple cities because of the Vols football program. That's how big a Vols football parade could be.
The standard I hold sports parades to is akin to what we call the summer of Ovi after the Caps won the cup. I think
of course, you're going back to your own shit.
Oh my God!
The summer of Ovi happened.
I have to tell you,
Vols football parade would make that look like nothing.
I have to tell you this, Nick. I have to tell you this, Dylan, and you're gonna I was in DC when the Nationals had their parade, but I didn't go because I was with my ex-girlfriend and my mom, who are not a big sports fans. So they're like, "Oh, I'm not into," so I had to kind of skip. But I kind of regret it because I imagine how fun it was, the Nationals parade.
That was the fall of my freshman year, so I was bummed I couldn't be there. I'm an Orioles fan, but I support the Nats. I go to every Orioles and Nationals game when I'm back home. It's such a fun rivalry, even though it's kind of one-sided now because the Nationals are not great and the Orioles are finally great.
Have you ever seen the Orioles and the Nats be good at the same time? Are they both Bruce Wayne?
I actually don't think I have. All right, do we have those videos queued up?
Let's see these videos.
All right, I'm hoping to see one.
Yeah, I'm going to play.
Hey, look at Blue Hat guy.
Oh my gosh, man, Jason, you should tell him about the blue hat. Tell him about the blue hat. You're wearing it right now.
There's nothing more fitting than wearing the blue hat. So the story behind the blue hat is I was wearing this exact outfit when we played Florida State. And we came back and won. And so I said, all right, I can't wear the same shirt tomorrow because, laundry, but I can wear the same hat. So I kept wearing the blue hat and we kept winning. I wore it every game except Saturday night because I was at the Indy 11 game and had my Indy 11 gear on and we lost. And I said, I have to wear the blue hat again.
Yeah.
And so it's only weird if it doesn't work. And so I showed up in this hat and then an orange jersey on Sunday night and we won. And then last night I showed up in a cream colored jersey with the blue hat and people started calling me Blue Hat Guy. And people were asking me where I got the hat and everything. And I've actually got another one. It's this, and it says the Tennessee in like the Lady Vols Tennessee script across it. It's pretty cool too, but this one's my favorite. And anyway, I was blue hat guy, and I got some
Hey,
love last night for
Summit
being
Blue
hat
is
guy.
cleaning as hell.
Oh yeah.
What other videos? Was that the only one?
I have to give a big shout out to my really great friend Big Carlos from Vida Nova FM, watching
Viva
us.
Carlos!
Yeah, he's calling me the big cannon of radio and TV, like kind of like the voice of the Rio Bronco. He always says like that, and I really
Don't be
appreciate it.
humble, it's true.
That's true.
Play into it,
That's
it's
fair.
true.
That's fair. That's why you know we put his clip on the beginning of the pod, and I kept thinking about him because John Wilkerson. I mean, this man sat through a lot of tough times calling the Tennessee baseball. He was there when nobody believed it, and he was still the voice of the baseball Vols. So
And he provided commentary to match the moment too.
yeah,
I want to shout out John Wilkerson because that is a big time call for a big time moment. I have chills every time I hear it.
oh yeah. He was impeccable. He was perfection. The way he described it, and what's so funny that because nowadays it's kind of like a trend. You go hysterical. You go like, and he kept his performance the way he always does. Detailed, detail oriented, but still excited. Like
Mhm.
you could, like he wasn't faking. You could see he was his true self, even though in the biggest moment probably in his career.
And he told
And-
the story brilliantly. He
And it
didn't
was
just go,
interesting.
he told the story. He painted a
Yeah.
picture.
And what's interesting about it is, I was listening to, I think it was Ball Quest on the drive home last night, and they were talking about how like John Wilkerson is the reason why ball baseball's even on the radio. How he had to sell the idea of baseball games on the radio, him and Mike Keith. And
Now, shout out to Mike Keith, by the way.
Yeah.
WUTK sports director. We love him.
WTK.
I'm gonna-
the voice of the Tennessee Titans.
I'm gonna try to bring John.
There could have
Wilkerson
been
on the
two.
pod. I'm
There
gonna
could have
try-
been two. Sorry, Gus. I thought you were finished. My apologies.
No, it's okay. I was
Nope.
just gonna say that probably not in a few weeks' time, because now he's probably one of the most beloved and one of the most important people in Knoxville right now. But definitely he'll come in our pod. He was always very kind of nice and always like accessible. And I was text him this weekend. How excited I was to listen to him, and how he was, everything that went through. And I even commented, hey, Rio Bronco lost, but I was excited about the Vols. And he was asking me about the game, Rio Bronco game, that I told him. It's like he was nice enough to care about. He was such a great person. I mean, that's why he's one of the legends of the Tennessee radio. I even had a podcast episode with him when I did my final project at Pellissippi with him, and he is just a great person.
I would love to see him get a chance to do football one day. I think he deserves a chance because he personifies what Tennessee is and what Tennessee should be.
I mean, he probably will have his time, like Bob Kessling, waited and waited and waited. And when his time come, it felt the perfect time. He probably will then step up and be the next one. But he's probably right now, he wouldn't change it for the word, because right now, John Wilkerson 1, Bob Kessling 0 in national championship calling.
That's true. That is true.
Wow.
Am I lying?
Oh, that's an unnecessary stray for Bob Kessling, but you're not wrong.
Because John Ward called the last football season the national championship, and he stepped in. And Bob Kessling is an amazing person and amazing broadcaster, but it's a fact. I'm just pointing out a fact.
Too, also, to go with the national championship is clad in big orange.
Yeah.
You just love to see it.
All right, Nick. What other videos do you have up your sleeve?
Let me pull
All right.
We keep getting distracted.
Oh, no.
The milk.
Oh,
Yes.
no. Okay, so let me set the scene here real quick. So I am from Indianapolis, Indiana. The Indianapolis 500 is the biggest sporting event in the city, one of the biggest in the world. The winners celebrate with milk. And so there is no more apropos way for me to celebrate than with milk, especially if I'm in Tennessee and I have access to Weigel's milk, which is goated, by the way. So
Wawa milk.
Let's see what you've got. Excuse me? Did you just say Wawa?
Yes.
Get the hell out of this podcast. Wawa is crap.
Wawa has good subs. Wawa just have good subs.
Sheets is better anyway. All right,
Okay,
roll the
Sheets.
clip.
All right, Sheets. Yes, let's. Jason drinking milk.
Roll the clip.
There's only one way to celebrate when you win, and you're from Indianapolis. Also, shout out to Weigels.
Greatest milk of all time.
You raise me up so I can stand on my own. You raise me up.
This is why Weigels is goated. I tweeted that video last night, and they retweeted me this morning and called me king, which I thought was fun enough. And then about 2 hours later, my phone starts blowing up with I have 60 people have retweeted this tweet you're mentioned, and I thought, oh, what the heck? Who am I getting cooked by today? And then I found out that Weigels made that for the championship. I can't lie, I busted out laughing a lot.
Yeah, that's iconic.
I sent it immediately to the group chat that I'm in. It said check Twitter immediately, and I had sent it in there, and I was in the middle of driving up the mountain towards Jellicoe, and I had to compose myself because I was laughing so hard. I love them; they're the best.
Oh man, I'm so glad they're in Chattanooga now, and shout out to the Moon Pie Milk. Shout out Moon Pie Milk.
Oh, I wish you could have a moon pie milk. That must be awesome.
I didn't get any. I got the chocolate milk. Chocolate milk is my probably second favorite.
Oh, chocolate
Behind
milk
lemon,
from Weigels is
lemon
really
cookie
good.
is my favorite of their flavors.
Can they
Wait,
sponsor us?
lemon
I would love
cookie
for
milk?
Weigel to sponsor us.
I thought
really
that the most whack milk flavor I've seen. We're on a sports podcast talking about milk. The most whack
Hey, this
milk
is sports
flavor.
radio in a nutshell, though. Take it from somebody who's done it. This is an everyday Tuesday in the middle of summer on any sports radio show.
Hey, the summer episodes of Rock Solid Sports were always whack. I remember one time we just did our own commentary for Olympic basketball or something. It wasn't even Team USA playing. We were just watching a game all together.
Oh, I love sports radio. And this podcast, I love this podcast. This is the epitome of it right here. This is the Vols win party here on Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. I am your honorary co-host, Jason Wyrick. Welcome to the Vols win party.
Absolutely, the win party. But I guess to kind of wrap up the Tennessee topic, though, we talked about what it means for athletics. Let's talk about what it means as a fan. Let's go around. Let's talk about what this championship means to you as a Tennessee fan. Whoever wants to take that first. Talk about what this means.
All right, I'll go first, I guess. As we all notoriously make fun of, I didn't grow up in the South. I didn't really pay attention to college football. I went to a couple Terps games when I was a kid, but that's about it. When I was applying to schools my senior year of high school, I just kind of shotgun blasted across the country because I couldn't get into Maryland. And I got into, I want to say 14 schools.
Damn, okay.
I'm a lot smarter than I thought I was. We toured. We planned on touring.
What did I say about having confidence in yourself?
We toured, I think, 5 or 6 schools, and Tennessee was number 6. And on the flight home, I was telling my dad, we don't need to do this anymore. We're going to Tennessee. And so at the time, all of our sports weren't great. And I was watching our basketball team in the tournament just because I should get to know these guys a little if I might start watching them as a student. And here we are 5 years later from, well, 5 years and a couple months for me making that decision. Best decision I've ever made. Tennessee was the most fun 4 years I've ever had, with the Alabama game being the highs and the BYU game being the low.
I'm
My one,
surprised that the low wasn't Jeremy Pruitt's introductory press conference with or introductory pep rally with the students.
that, yes. All right, you're right. That's the low. For those who don't remember, I'm Neyland Stadium for the first time. He comes out. All right, guys, we're going to hope for the best. Just come support us. It's like, you ham sandwich of a person. Another old
I love that
reference.
that's starting to catch on as an insult too. So the
Anyway,
origin of the ham sandwich comment is I said he had the personality of a stale ham sandwich on Rock Solid one day, and it's really starting to catch on, and I'm here for it.
I think we reference it every time. But here we are 5 years later.
Shout out Rainsville PE teacher Jeremy Pruitt.
Even after graduation, Tennessee is getting me just absolute emotional highs whenever I have the time to pay attention. I'll be honest, this new job, I'm busy a lot. But anytime I see someone in orange, I give them a go Vols. They give me a go Vols back. If something's going on, I ask them how we're doing. Nobody ever gives me a negative answer because Rocky Top is on top.
I like this moment because also it's a reflection for me, because unlike you guys, I've never heard of Knoxville or the University of Tennessee until January 2015, when or even like what fall 2014, when my parents were like, "Hey, you're finishing college in Brazil, and you're gonna go do your college in US to kind of go further in your career, and you go to a city named Knoxville, and you're gonna study there." And when I landed, I was, what am I doing here? Is this the right place for me? And then throughout the years, I developed, this sense of belonging, in Knoxville, and I went deeper further. Of course, WTK was what opened up for me, especially into the University of Tennessee world, because then I could cover all Tennessee sports because I didn't limit myself to football. I probably was the one who, kind of treat all the sports equal: football, men's basketball, women's basketball, softball, volleyball, and of course, baseball. Um, and I love that I'm one of the very few people who love the University of Tennessee here in Brazil. Me, my really great friend Luis Enrique Santos in the city of Bauru, and another friend of mine in the Rio Grande do Sul state. Probably we are the three representatives of Tennessee Volunteers fan base. And last night I called Luis Enrique, and he was also like static and emotional. Like we are both happy and like celebrating. And I wish it, and I understand that Brazilian ESPN, they were calling just for them was just a random baseball game. They of course were more focused on the stats and everything. That's why I had to turn the volume down or mute and put on John Wilkerson, because I know what he meant for the program. And you know that moment was like, because I lived through a lot of shit in sports, covering the Vols, especially 2020. I endure a lot of hard times, especially with the now PE teacher in the state of Alabama, who has some hard times with me, and I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it. And and Tony Vitello always treat me well. He always, because
He's a man of the people.
The people's coach.
and I always kind of not scared, but always kind of a little bit hesitant. But I never shine away to ask questions in his press conference. But baseball for me is kind of like soccer to a lot of guys in the South. You know a little, but you didn't grow up with you. I kind of learned it as I was there, and he always treat me nice. Remember my last press conference as a WHK reporter was with him, and he was very kind of nice about it. And that moment yesterday, it always, and I love the song. The part of the song of Rocky Top I love the most is Rocky Top. You always be home, sweet home to me. That part was like, hey, even though you're probably not from Tennessee, not from Knoxville, if you know and you live and you embrace the culture, you embrace the place, Rocky Top will always feel home to you.
And I
Yeah,
remember
and
I had jumped in on one of your English classes one time, and you were teaching them the words to that song, and just
That's
and just
awesome.
and just like listening to you explain it to them, just like, wow, these people are learning about Rocky Top for the first time, and that's just beautiful.
I think Gus, I think you put it right because three of us in this podcast are not from Tennessee, and and the fact that we all care so much about this, it's more than just our alma mater.
Mhm.
It's a lifestyle. It's a
It's
culture.
a damn
It's a
religion.
Oh yeah.
it's a family. Like everybody, and Dylan, I think your point to was great when you're working for the Mouse and you see people wearing orange, you say go balls. That that's your extended family. You don't know them.
Mhm.
You don't know who they are as a person, but your brothers in Tennessee, and it feels like a big extended family. And I think that really resonates with me because, for the same reason that Gus said, I'm not from Tennessee. I'm from the Midwest. I'm a Southern transplant. And I mean, I got called a damn Yankee a few times, but, I was
Mood.
embraced. Right. And, and I was embraced as one of our own. And I think that's really what it comes down to. They treat you like family as long as you
Uh-oh.
are embracing the same things. You're wearing the orange and you're singing Rocky Top and everything.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter where you're from. Doesn't matter, you know, anything else in the world. In that moment, that's your family, and I love that.
And, and
Absolutely.
it, and it always kind of felt a little place at home because I always felt this vibrant kind of fan base or even people from Tennessee kind of remind me at home. Like probably Tennessee fans base. It reminds me a lot of Brazilian fans here. The passion, the even through great times and bad times. The but the passion, the love. That's what I see in Brazil with soccer,
Right.
and I felt that in Knoxville with the University of Tennessee.
Yeah,
And that, that,
and
that, that kind of going the opposite direction with that. Tennessee has also taught me things that like it hypothetically, if my kids were to get a free ride to Alabama, I don't have to pay a cent. More power to them. That being said, I'll be damned if they go to Alabama.
so that's what this that's that's what it means to you, Nick. I want to hear what this championship
Yeah, you're
means to
actually
you.
from here, so let
Yeah,
them
and
cook.
this. I mean, you are all, I mean, you may have not been born in Tennessee or grew up in Tennessee, but you are all Tennesseans, whether you still physically reside in this state. And you're right. I'm the one who did grow up here. I grew up in Chattanooga. The first Tennessee sporting event I watched, I was 7 years old. And, for a long time, I wondered, would any of these teams come close to winning a natty? Football was bad for so long. Basketball, frankly, had a time there where they were just completely terrible. And of course, they've never made the Final Four. And baseball wasn't even on the mind, on the concept. But we talked about it earlier in this podcast. COVID was like a reset for this program
Oh
because
yeah.
think about the year before everything shut down was that the low point for me was 2019 Georgia State.
Oh, that was a rough one.
And
That was my
just
first game ever.
and getting ran
Well,
out of the
only
stadium
could
by
go up from there.
72. And I just looked around and I'm just sitting here just like it was my junior year by that point, and I'm just like, this can't be real. I mean, this is a nightmare. How bad this has become. From an athletic standpoint, and obviously school and stuff was awesome, but the part of the reason why you go to UT is to enjoy great sports. And that part of it was a complete nightmare.
Don't tell that to Jeremy Pruitt.
And, obviously the COVID year was a disaster. And I just, when I was sitting there in the spring of 2021, I just looked out and just like, Tennessee sports are cursed, man. We're never going to do anything. But then that Tony Vitello, man, with that baseball team, with those wins against Vanderbilt and Arkansas and that run to Omaha, they made us believe. They made us believe again. And you saw what it did with football, in terms of how Josh Heupel's brought that back. You saw some of the previous runs with basketball, with Rick. But Tony has been the best of all of them. Tony has been the class of the field. And he's the one who deserves to get to hoist this first. He's the one that gets to hoist this first. And getting to celebrate that with you, Jason, with all those other fans, Austin and everyone else we were sitting with last night, is something I will never forget. It's the greatest birthday I've ever had.
Hell yeah.
And it just means so much. It means more. Like, we sat and listened to the Tennessee Waltz afterwards, and I had tears.
Yeah.
Because
truly.
This means everything. I put on a Pride uniform for 3 years. I have March pregame, March circle drill. And because I took pride in that because I knew what that means. How many people have done that before me? And how many people are going to continue to do all that? How many people are going to get to flood the hallways and flood the sidewalks of UT Knoxville and East Tennessee? And, I may not live in Tennessee forever. But, this is always going to be home for me.
Absolutely. And I think for me, I want to come back to the Tennessee Waltz because there's something really, really special in that. But I grew up in Indianapolis. My grandma, my beloved Mima, she is from Harriman, just outside of Knoxville. And she's been a lifelong Vols fan, even though she hasn't lived in Tennessee since she was 20. I think it was something to the effect. My Uncle Philip, UT alum. My Aunt Judy, my Uncle Philip's wife, UT alum. They moved to Georgia. They live in Gainesville, Georgia now. And Mima moved north. That whole part of our family left Tennessee. And yet we're here talking about it today because that never left. When you say Rocky Top will always be home, sweet home to me, it's real. And my Uncle Philip, he rides around in his retirement community on his motorized scooter with his Vols flags on the back, honking at everybody, all the Georgia fans, raising hell about it. And I'll never forget. I grew up watching Lady Vols basketball and Tennessee football with my Mima. I'd watch college football on Saturdays with my Peepaw, but Mima always wanted to make sure the Vols were on. And I'll never forget, I watched the 2016 Georgia game with my Mima and Peepaw. And when Jawan Jennings caught it, Mima, I've never seen her jump out of a seat so fast. She jumps up, yeah! And anyway, it was really, really special growing up to share that with my Mima. And because, I'm from a pro city, I don't really care about college sports. Like, I grew up watching IU because that's, it's fine, whatever. But the only school I really had a connection to was Tennessee, and it was because of Mima. And so when I was in high school, I always thought I was going to go to Tennessee. And I toured at Tennessee, and sorry about that. I put do not disturb on. Quit texting me. I'm busy. I always thought I was going to Tennessee. I was sure I was going to Tennessee. And my mom always wanted me to go to IU because it was close. But IU was not really on my radar. I didn't really like IU. I felt kind of like you, Dylan.
I don't need to tour any more of these schools. Tennessee was my number one. Louisville was my number two. And I made a decision just on a whim, completely uninformed, reckless decision in September of 2013, my senior year of high school, to go to Louisville. And that turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. When I graduated, I was thinking, okay, grad school is on the radar. I figured on doing that. And I was applying around. I applied to IU. I applied to Kansas State. I applied at Tennessee. I applied at Grand Canyon University on the online program. I applied at all these places, Ball State. But in the back of my mind, I always felt like I had unfinished business with the University of Tennessee. They were my number one choice out of high school. I didn't end up going. But it all worked out because I showed up to tour the campus again because it had changed in the last, 6 or 7 years. I toured in 2012 as a junior in high school. And that was back when the Vol Shop was over where Stokely Hall is now.
Oh,
So shout out to the OGs.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
you go
that's
on
where they
Google,
chose
Old,
before
old,
the door.
old.
That used to be the basketball gym a very long time ago.
yeah, man, there was Stokely didn't exist, and there was a Vol Shop, a standalone Vol Shop there. And if you go to Google Maps Street View, you can probably find it if you go back far enough. But I toured the campus again, and there was a program that I was looking at, which was the College of Communication at UT, and I showed up on campus, and I had been emailing Miss Margaret. Shout out to Miss Margaret; she's the best. Just for information, and I showed up at her door one day, at her office, and she's like, "You're here," and she gave me a personalized tour, and I came and she gave me the tour, and I stayed for my first Tennessee football game was against UAB 2019. And I think Alante Taylor had 2 interceptions that night, and UAB was just happy to have a program again. And anyway,
That game was awful. I remember the second half was even worse.
Yeah,
I will say that
that-
weekend was fun though. That was homecoming weekend. I had a lot of
Oh
fun.
yeah, that was
But-
my first homecoming, but
but
I
the
Yeah,
game
I don't
is-
remember the game.
But yeah,
probably for the
game
best.
itself was horrible in the second half. Horrible.
it was pretty bad. It was not a good omen for what was to come the next year with the unwatchable Jeremy Pruitt teams. But with
Coach
that all
Ham
being
sandwich.
said, yeah, stale ham sandwich, Jeremy Pruitt. PE teacher, stale ham sandwich, Coach Jeremy Pruitt. But anyway, so I came back to Knoxville. I decided I want to go here. And Miss Margaret asked, "All right, what'd you think?" And I said, "Look, if you guys take me, I'm here." And she said, "All right, I hope to see you next fall." And February rolls around, and I get the acceptance letter from Tennessee. It was an email, though. It was right before COVID. And I get this acceptance email, and I'm reading it while I'm at a baseball practice. I sit down at practice, and I just start crying. And the guy that I coached under at the time, Coach Barry, shout out to Coach Barry. "What's going on, Coach?" And I showed him the email. He said, "Well, congratulations, Coach. I'm proud of you." And that's exactly how he sounds, too. Great guy. Anyway, I'm thinking, great. Now, how am I going to pay for it? And like clockwork, about a week later, I got an email that said, "Oh, by the way, it's on the house." And I said, "Say less. I'll see you in the fall." And that being said, it all came full circle for me to be able to get my master's degree at Tennessee. And it all worked out the way it was supposed to. And so, in a long roundabout way, what that meant to me was it did come full circle. And my Mima, when she left Tennessee, my Peepaw made the comment that he said, "Once I rescued your Mima from Tennessee, I didn't think anybody'd ever go back." Obviously tongue in cheek. And my uncle Philip said, I didn't think anybody else in our family would ever be a UT alumni because all of his kids and grandkids went to Georgia and Georgia Tech. And I went there and I continued like that legacy from that side of my family. And then just seeing that and being able to talk to Mima this morning, just, how excited she was about it. It meant a lot to me. And circling all the way back around to finish my thoughts, and this is why I wanted to go last, because I know I rambled. I'm sorry. The Tennessee Waltz. Nick and I listened to it, and we were fighting back tears. Gus, we had a moment yesterday like you had in Florida. That was what that meant to us. I finally understood what was so special about that moment for you, because I was able to experience this with one of my best friends in the world, this guy, Nick Hill, and we listened to the Tennessee Waltz. We're talking to you on the phone, and it hit me. That's why you were so emotional in Florida at the bowl game. And
Yeah.
I didn't get it until yesterday, but I get it. And it's something special.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one day, Gus, you will get back to Tennessee. We will make
hell
it
yeah.
happen.
Oh yeah. I didn't thought I was able. I never thought I would be seeing Tennessee football again, and I saw them winning a bowl game. That for me was one of the best days I ever had. That day, it meant a lot to me. That's true. It meant a lot to me being with all the Vol fans in Orlando, and experience everything again. And when I saw the videos that you guys sent me, I remember all the times I walked through UT campus, that I went to WTK, the Vol Village, and and that party was, I mean, that's why I was really grateful when people ask me, oh, about my time in the United States and stuff. I was like, I was lucky, I was really lucky that that somehow Tennessee found me. That Tennessee kind of showed up in my life because of my parents, and they and my dad. He lived in Tennessee because of his job, and I never knew that decision would change my life, and meeting you guys and WTK and everything that came through. But most of all, now I can say that I'm a Vol for life. I'm a Vol for life. And even though I didn't study at the University of Tennessee, but I gave my all. I gave my all to WTK, that is a part of the University of Tennessee. And you guys know how much I gave for the radio station,
Absolutely.
So and and I always treat all sports the same, because I always felt angry at some people that were like, oh, I care about football and nothing else. It's like, for me, all the sports matters. Softball, baseball, women's soccer, men's
There won't be
basketball.
names mentioned, but we know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
We
you
know.
you guys know. You guys, yeah, that's true.
And that's the T.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I saw some guy earlier. He was trying to say that, Tennessee fans look like idiots because they're trying to celebrate a stickball championship and no one cares about the college baseball national championship. And I'm just like,
don't care.
Yeah.
Right. Sounds like something a loser would say.
Yeah. That sounds like something that a poverty franchise would say.
Yeah.
Well, because this dude's a Georgia football fan. He's just like,
where's Charlie Condoms? Where's Charlie Condoms now?
And people are just like, oh, I don't watch Georgia baseball. I don't watch Georgia basketball. I don't even care about UGA. I just like Georgia football. And I'm just like,
all right, that's your problem.
Sounds like a personal problem to me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I mean, you don't care about your school. You just care about a team. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We all care about this school.
Yes.
We all care about Knoxville.
That
guy doesn't care about those. Some of these people can only care about the football team. It's much more than that.
It's way
more than that. Way more than that.
I think that's one of the reasons why Tennessee is so special to everybody that's a part of the family. because for the most part, it's people that think like us. It's everything.
Mhm. And one of the things that don't go, I'm going to say this again. I love the job I'm at. Disney is great, but when I said
Yeah,
yes,
we know you're
one,
contractually obligated to say it. We understand.
uh,
Blink
congrat-
twice if you got a gun to your head behind that green screen.
and I did tell you about that Pinocchio mural that's staring
Oh.
into my soul right now. But anyway, so
How many Brazilians you see daily, Dylan? Because all Brazilians know about United States is Disney. Disney.
I mean,
Disney.
honestly, I've lost track because it's at least in the double digits every day. But anyways, one of the things that my second thought after, holy crap, I'm working for Disney was I'm not making it to a game this year, and that every day I wake up, I gave that up for my own personal success. You got to do what you got to do to get ahead in
Sure.
life, but just I miss it this year. That third Saturday in October, I'm gonna figure something out where I can watch it. But next year, I'm coming back, and I'm doing it up like I did senior year. I might be a little older. The joints might not be as nice and limber as they used to be, but when you're in
Not the
Neyland,
joints I thought you were talking about.
get your mind out of the gutter. But when you're in Neyland Stadium, 102-ish thousand people, you're about $2 or $3 $13 beers deep. Rocky Top's hitting.
Couldn't be me.
All right, Mr. Bud Light, your Budweiser Zero.
Shit. Yeah,
For
I
me-
mean that's the truth. But real quick, Dylan, what does it mean to have University of Tennessee on your name tag, though?
Oh,
Working for the Mouse.
that's so about that actually. Again, I'm graduated, but I'm in the Disney College program, which is just like college intern stuff that a lot of people do it summers between each year. Obviously, I'm not doing it that way because reasons. Originally, when I filled out the paperwork for my name tag in, I want to say like late March, early April, I put Kent Island, Maryland, because that's home. But they hand me my name tag on orientation day, and it says University of Tennessee, and I go, all right, we're going with it. And I've gotten more compliments and more go Vols than I've gotten people from Maryland because, again, it's a family, and I have my uniform. I have my costume that I have to wear at work. But that one little bit of where I'm from or what my school is, whatever, that's not Disney. That's me. Weird way to put it. I am University of Tennessee to these people. I am representing that school. A few weeks ago, there was a crying baby wearing a smoky shirt, and to calm him down, me and that entire family sang Rocky Top, and it made the baby stop crying. That's how much this means to these people.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome that Tennessee has so much pull, and it just goes to show that it doesn't matter if you are physically here or not in the great state of Tennessee. It's
Home
great
sweet home to me.
to be a
A
Tennessee
Tennessee
Vol.
Vol.
I said
I
it's
said it's
great.
great
To
to
be
be
a
a
Tennessee.
Tennessee Vol.
Hey
We are
Nick,
not.
why don't you bring up the video from my post last night, the Facebook post, where we were doing the celebrating, and you said God bless the great state of Tennessee, and then I started the "It's great to be a Tennessee Vol" chant.
Let's see. Okay, which one?
If you can pull that up, it's the first video in my post. I think that's something that we need to show while we're closing out the thought about this before we go to the secondary championship game last night.
Yeah, again, I can't believe it that the Stanley Cup is a secondary championship in this context.
That's what Tennessee means
Yes.
to Dylan Becker. It put Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals on the back burner.
While Nick cues us up, I'll talk about it. I'm on my computer. We're trying to figure out the show. We're all talking on the phone or whatever. In the middle of our conversation, I go, "Oh crap! The Panthers just won the cup." Anyways,
All right, I've got it.
All right. That's probably a good transition after this.
Oh no, go back to the beginning.
To be a Tennessee ball, I said it's great. To be a Tennessee ball, I said it's great. To be a Tennessee ball, I said it's great. To be a Tennessee ball, I said it's great. To be a Tennessee ball, I said it's great. To be a Tennessee ball. Oh my God.
You should have gone to the beginning. The whole celebration was fun. Go to the beginning. Go back.
Let's go back.
Is it on par with my Bama celebration
back that
video
up.
where I
Back that
sprained my
up.
ankle and stuff?
It was crazy. It was pretty crazy.
I wish I was there.
Yeah, this was unreal.
Beep, beep. Back that ass up, Nick. Go back.
All right, put it back up, Gus.
Oh, it's Gus. Sorry. Back that ass up, Gus.
All right, so we're here in Rocky Top, as we should.
It was a human night. Sorry for the camera.
Hey, it's my video from Alabama is one of the worst shot footage ever, but I still love that video. Rocky Top. Rocky Top, Tennessee.
You can hear why my voice sounds like this today.
And here's somewhere.
No, there's Jason.
I pan around, and Nick says, "God bless the great state of Tennessee."
It should be like right around there. That's the great state of Tennessee.
There it is.
Woo! Man, what a night. It's a birthday I will never forget. As long as I live.
And like we were saying yesterday, we're not going to remember being tired today. We're going to remember this night for the rest of time.
So, I'm going to point this out just because it's funny. Obviously, being Tennessee fans, we got to dance when Rocky Top comes on. The study rooms have clear windows, so I'm getting a lot of people giving me weird looks, bouncing around like an idiot, but personally, I don't care.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
And Gus tried to call us, and he could not. We could not hear him. We could not hear you guys.
Yeah, that's basically the whole video. But you can see how emotional everybody was.
Woo!
Oh my God.
And
I was damn near crying right there. And I said it's great to be a Tennessee
To be a Tennessee ball, I said it's great. To be a Tennessee ball, I said it's great. To be a Tennessee ball, I said it's great. To be a Tennessee ball, I said it's great. To be a Tennessee ball, I said it's great. To be a Tennessee ball. Oh my God.
Man.
Whew, fun
You
times.
can't buy memories like that.
No.
You can't.
It's whenever I'm feeling down, I pull up like any of our sports highlights or whatever, and it just brings me back up.
Like, I'll never remember what story I just said. I barely remember what I did 3 hours ago. But
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. So.
I barely remember the Alabama game for a couple reasons. Number one, it was just so much. Number two, I'll let you guess the second one.
It involved drinking something that I didn't drink last night.
Yeah, kind of.
That video was hilarious, though. I tried that Budweiser Zero because I don't drink. For anybody watching, I do not drink alcohol, and I tried this Budweiser Zero, and my reaction was,
Well,
literally.
it's beer alone is an acquired taste. Non-alcoholic beer already tastes like cat piss. So, and like I was telling you, God forbid you try an IPA, but also I'm curious.
Absolutely. Now I do. Now I do want to briefly just talk about the other team here, A&M, because
Yep.
as notorious as this has been,
It's so funny that after 2 hours of podcast, now we're gonna get to all the other sports stuff, non-emotional Vols related.
well,
Yeah,
this is
well,
still kind of balls related because,
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Vols Win Party on the Two Countries, Two Americas All Sports podcast.
well, we got to talk. As for every winner,
Right.
there's a loser,
We'll
and there may not
acknowledge
be
them.
a bigger loser in any championship ever than Texas A&M, because not only did they lose to this Orange UT today last night, they lost to the other Orange UT that they hate even more than us, as Schwarzenegger went to Texas. Not Texas A&M, but he left A&M to go to Texas.
So let me get this straight really quick. So they tried to cheat and lost anyway. And then somebody asked Jim Schlossnagel about this Texas rumor, and he took the piss. He went off on this kid for asking and how disrespectful it was, but he didn't deny it. And then he turns around and leaves less than 24 hours later for Texas after giving some bullshit sob story about why he went to A&M in the first place. This guy is becoming the whore of Texas. He was at TCU, went to A&M, now he's going to Texas. He's getting passed around like a bong.
Well, hey, as long as he doesn't do what Kevin O'Sullivan did, I think he'll be, at least he's a step above that. But
I have his
Yeah,
press conference if you guys want it.
What?
Yeah, pull up the clip at the end of him answering that question. How mad he gets that he's asked that question.
Oh yeah, I'm curious
But
about
he's
this.
not mad that it's disrespectful to his team. He's mad that he's getting asked about it because he knows he's about to leave.
Rumors circulating today about a specific job opening. What do you have to say about your future in Aggieland?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you.
That's when you should have known that he was leaving.
I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M.
Oh,
I
bullshit.
took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again.
Bullshit.
And that hasn't
Lies.
changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that, to be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job.
This guy's nose is growing.
Write that.
I mean, he did give everything, and then he left. That last part was not a lie. But this between the PitchCom thing, which we didn't even talk about, Billy Amick's PitchCom wristband bracelet thing broke, and Tennessee players didn't have it, and so it wasn't on the field. So A&M's players had it, and they said they didn't have it, and so Tony V said bullshit and went back to regular signs, and they were talking about why they were given actual signs, instead of just using PitchCom. Well, that was why, and so they tried to cheat, and then he does this. I had a lot of respect for Jim Schlossnagel, and I was talking about him in such a positive light a couple of weeks ago, and how good of a coach he is, and putting a lot of respect on his name. This made me lose a lot of respect for him. Like, dude, that's read the room. Like, you're gonna do that and then talk like that. If you're gonna say something, don't be disrespectful to a reporter for doing his job. Just be like, I want to focus on our team, and what they accomplished.
Can't
How hard
confirm
is
or
that?
deny it, or
No, just be like, I don't want to take anything away from this particular team by talking about something that doesn't apply to this team. Anything like that, fine. But he looks like a complete jackass now, and for good reason.
Not even a stale ham sandwich.
I mean, and people call Tony Vitello a villain. This guy is now the villain of college baseball.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tony V is more of an anti-hero.
I mean, this guy's straight villain. I mean,
He's Deadpool,
low-key,
really.
I'm kind of rooting for Texas
Yeah.
A&M now. Yeah, you know, that's I'm not the balls, but like I want A&M to beat Texas's ass next year.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I'm the same.
But
for
you do your thing, Gus.
I can't even imagine what Aggie fans are feeling, you know, because they are kind of similar. They're kind of similar to what Vol fans are. They're passionate, they care, they've been through a
They're
lot.
a little weird, but
yeah, but they maybe see the Vol fans weird, you know. They have.
But we're not. That's the thing.
And we don't blow bubbles, have male cheerleaders.
We don't smack our own ass like they do.
Be as it may. Be as it may. Be as it may. They might be weird, but they care about their school.
Sure.
They care about, and they've been through a lot in football. You know, they thought their football program was going to be back with Jimbo Fisher. Nope. And they thought, oh, you know,
LOL.
LOL. You know, they're still paying him. You know, Jimbo. You know, they thought, oh, you know, with baseball we're going to resurrect, you know, feeling champions again, and they didn't. And the Vols took it away, their SEC and national championship trophies, both. And then
now their arch rival.
And their arch rival now took their coach.
And it's now in the SEC, so they're no longer even the only SEC team in Texas.
Nope.
So what was it that I think it was in The Dark Knight Rises. I think it was. The quote is, or no, maybe it was in The Dark Knight. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
That was
Jim
Dark
Frost
Knight. Harvey Dent, Two-Face. Yep.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was Jim Gordon. I can't. It's.
And like, what does this do for the Texas A&M rivalry? Because that thing, I mean, that's one of the most anticipated sporting events of the year, in my opinion, when those two hit the field again. And A&M fans already hate Texas with every single last fiber of their soul. I mean, I remember how, I remember when Lane Kiffin left for USC in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I was kind of feeling that way. I was going to make that comparison.
But USC wasn't like Alabama. They weren't a rival. This is like if Kiffin went to Alabama or Georgia.
After losing in the championship game, after losing in the national championship, like at least Lane Kiffin hadn't built the program into something special yet.
What didn't Washington's coach do that after they lost to Michigan?
Well, I mean, he went to Alabama. Like, that's not a rival of Washington.
Okay, fair, but he still left.
Yeah, but like Alabama's clearly
that's your point. Yeah,
but that's a complete step up job, though.
Mm-hmm.
With all due respect to Washington Huskies football, Alabama is the gold standard of college football. It's a little bit different.
I know. I literally just took a massive shot at Alabama. I said I'd be damned if my kids go there. But like, if I was a football coach and that coaching position became open, I'd take it in a heartbeat.
Sure, everybody would, and that's why Kalen DeBoer is not being painted as a villain. But I think the main problem that I have with this is because of how he acted last night.
Yes, in that interview or press conference.
He was probably talking about this during Omaha, like when he should have been focusing on his team winning a national title. Instead, he was planning to give his team the ultimate middle finger and go to their arch rival.
What would have said? What if I was in his position? I would have answered is like, I don't want to think about it right now. I am disappointed and heartbreak with this loss, and I can't think about my future. That's it. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
As soon as he got like militant defensive and started going on the attack, you knew that he was leaving.
Yeah.
You knew that there was merit to it as soon as he went on the attack. And it's the same thing I told to Nick last night. I said, this doesn't seem like a denial at all. And I mean, look, I think Texas A&M is going to be just fine. They're going to go and get probably Nick Mingione or somebody of that caliber. Mingione is at Kentucky right now. He was somebody that I said would be a good candidate for the Texas job. They're going to go and get somebody like him, and they're going to be just fine. But I mean, you got to think though. not only is this coach going there, how many of their players transfer there to follow him? This is going to boil over and fast, and I'm here for it. I want all of the chaos as long as it doesn't involve my alma mater.
Absolutely. And but I'll say this, though. I saw some tweets from some A&M players. They feel completely disrespected by their
Hell
own
yeah,
coach,
as they
saying,
should.
I played for A&M and my fellow teammates. I didn't play for this coach. Which is the exact opposite of our players who are like, yeah, I came here to play for Tony V, along with Tennessee and my players. And that's the difference between Tony Vitello and all these other freaking coaches.
Because Tony Vitello gets kids here, but Tennessee keeps them here.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is the antithesis. And I think Tony V being an anti-hero is really, and I think it's apt to say that. You know, Dylan said that, and immediately I thought of Deadpool, and I think that's true. That he's a very Deadpool-esque type of character, whereas Jim Schlossnagel, he's very Harvey Dent. Truly,
yeah, absolutely went Two-Face, quite literally. And also, I wanted to spend before we get off baseball completely. Some of these other fan bases' reactions have been absolutely hilarious. Vanderbilt fans, Arkansas fans, all
they are coping hard.
They're absolute meltdown. They're like, Barstool and Vandy is just like, oh, okay, well, we still got 2 national titles. You know, Skip Bayless is tweeting, well, we beat you 3 times in the regular season. And I'm just like, okay.
Don't care.
You lost a High Point, dude.
Don't care. Here's me drinking my haters' tears.
And like Arkansas's like, oh, well, we created Tony Vitello. He was at Arkansas before here. And I'm like, yeah, okay, why does Stan Van Horn still have no titles? Why can't
I think that's a big reason. I'm glad you said that, because that's a big reason why a lot of SEC schools hate us, is because they have worked, even ACC, just teams in general, good baseball programs hate Tennessee because Tennessee was able to be born from nothing and have achieved. We have gone from the mud to the mountaintop in 7 years, and schools like Arkansas, Texas A&M, Louisville, even Payne, schools like that have been to the College World Series so many. Florida State been to the College World Series so many times and never won it. That's why we're hated, because we were able to do that. We went from the mud to the mountaintop in 7 years, and these other schools have been on the last step at the top of the mountain and didn't make it so many different times. And I think that's really important to understand as a Vols fan, especially those of you who are new to college baseball, how important that is to remember. College baseball is really difficult to win in anyway, but the College World Series is one of the most difficult tournaments to win, because it's not like the NCAA tournament, which is like the basketball tournament, which is already hard enough to win as it is. It's harder than that, because not only do you have to pull an upset once, you have to pull it twice. And that's what makes this so special. It's so difficult to win, and we did it. We did the damn thing, and we're national champs. That's crazy to me. This trophy right here, that's in Nick's picture here, that's insane that belongs to us. I don't believe it.
And damn right, it does belong to us. The Volunteers, the 2024 Tennessee Baseball Volunteers, are your national champions.
Yeah.
In very small part, thanks to Blue Hat Guy, apparently.
Blue Hat Guy, we believe in, and the karma of my birthday.
Hell yeah! Happy birthday, Nick.
All right, before we get into the other championship, while we're on kind of like this Tennessee note, I do want to shout out Dalton Connect. He is going to be drafted tomorrow night somewhere in the NBA draft. Where do we want to see him go? Where do we think he will go?
Come to the Wizards. I'll buy your jersey.
I want to see him go somewhere other than Memphis, because I don't need Ja Morant near him.
Now, I disagree. I would love Morant with Connect, because I think those two would be electric together. Granted,
it's not. I'm not talking about on the court, Nick. I'm not talking on the court at all.
Well, okay. I see where you're going with that. San Antonio, though, is where I really want him. I want connect.
He and Wembanyama would be unfair.
God, if that happens, I'm a Spurs fan. Well, okay. I'll be a Spurs / Pacers / kind of Hawks-ish fan. Whatever. I'm an NBA casual.
And Dylan's up here looking like why not the Wizards?
Yeah, they're my team.
I mean,
yeah, I can understand why you don't want to be a Knicks fan. Gus is poverty enough with the Knicks.
Speaking of the Knicks, I mean, they did a trade.
Here we go.
They sent Bojan Bogdanovic and some picks to the Nets for Mikal Bridges. So
wow, okay.
Interesting.
Okay, that's a big trade. Okay. Mikal Bridges is somebody that a lot of Pacers fans thought was a reasonable acquisition. So that's a big trade for the Knicks.
Hey, none of those players have to sell their apartments or houses.
Yeah,
true.
All worked out.
Yeah.
The craziest sports fact to me though is that there are 3 NHL teams within a 20-minute radius. That's wild to me.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Sorry.
as the crow
Continue.
flies, when you're going through actual New York traffic, it's probably about 6 hours.
Yeah, but no New Yorker goes through New York traffic. They all ride the
Oh,
subway.
yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of NHL, let's finally get into it, Dylan.
Now, look at that brilliant segue.
The other championship, really quick, I just want to point out last night was the 15th time ever that both the Stanley Cup and the Calder Cup were raised on the same night. You knew I'd had to bring up my Capitals somehow. The Capitals minor league team, the Hershey Bears, won back-to-back Calder Cups last night. They beat the Coachella Valley Firebirds, who I think are Seattle's minor league team. I didn't watch it because I was too busy watching the Vols, but yay. But moving to the NHL, the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. Game 7 against the Edmonton Oilers after losing 3 straight and the Oilers forcing it. First cup ever for the Panthers. They made it to the finals last year and a couple times in the past, I think. I can't remember the years off the top of my head. I had it pulled up, but I'm just pulling up a bunch of other stuff. You can tell what my priorities are for championships today. But yeah, it was a little worrying early in the series that we were just going to get a Florida Panthers sweep. I like a good dramatic Stanley Cup final because it's the hardest trophy to win in all of sports. The amount of physical effort that has to go into it. Hockey is hard. It's hard to learn how to play. It's physically demanding, and just the schedule is brutal, especially in the playoffs. This is the longest distance between 2 playoff teams in the finals. You got Sunrise, Florida in the bottom right corner of the United States, and you got Edmonton in the northwestern part of Canada. I think they said
it's not even like lower Canada either.
No,
it's up into Winnipeg. It's past Winnipeg in the province of Alberta. It's way the hell up there.
I think they said it's like somewhere between 2,500 to 3,000 mile trip. It's brutal.
It's so the stat is something to the effect of over half of Canada's population lives within 50 miles of the U.S. border, and it would probably be close to 80 or 90% if Edmonton didn't exist. It's a big ass city, but it's way the hell up there.
But anyways, Florida wins, and I'm pulling up all the stuff that I wrote.
They got their win after all, but the B-Dubs people made sure that there was a good series. So shout out to the guy who hit the overtime button.
Exactly. Connor McDavid won the Conn Smythe for playoff MVP despite being on the losing team. That's the 6th time it's happened in history. The last time was I forgot to write the name down again, but it was
I don't think that should have happened though. I mean, 0 points in the last 2 games
for McDavid. Yes, but he broke Wayne Gretzky's playoff point record. Anyone who breaks a Wayne Gretzky record deserves some sort of recognition. And
He
that's a big
backpacked
deal.
them to the finals too.
Yeah.
Like let's not get lost in that.
And so he doesn't come out to accept the award. People are trying to figure out why. I'm guessing it's because he wanted to be with his team, that they're all processing getting that close and not coming out on top. McDavid doesn't want to accept an individual award at the time.
It reminds me of Messi and I think the 2014 World Cup when he won the most outstanding player.
That was FIFA and Adidas partnership to kind of give a prize for someone who did not deserve. Like Messi had an okay-ish World Cup, and
here we go with the Brazil versus Argentina rivalry.
But and then
Gus, I love you.
Another thing I want to bring up is that there's a lot of talk as to why Florida teams are good. I don't have my watch on me, but let me pull up the weather to see how hot. And it's summertime; it's guaranteed to be hot.
Is it because they know how to skirt the cap rules?
Today, shut up. Today it was going to be a high of 94. The next couple days, it's going to be the mid 90s. A couple days ago, I looked at it and it was 103. Why are hockey teams in Florida succeeding? Yeah. And my explanation to it is you got all these players from Minnesota, North Dakota, middle of nowhere Canada, who a foot of snow for them is a good day. And if they're given the opportunity to play somewhere where it's always sunny, you can always wear shorts.
Philadelphia? I mean, myself out.
The sun is always shining. There we go. You can always wear shorts.
We've gone off the rails, and it's entirely my fault. I'm sorry.
No, we've been off the rails since we started recording 2.5 hours ago.
God bless. That's 2.5 hours.
All of these players are coming to where it's warm and they can actually enjoy life. And you look at Jaromir Jagr, who I think he ended his NHL career. He's still playing in the KHL because he's just built different. The last NHL team he played for, I think, was Florida. I lost track because he's played for basically everyone.
Not for the Hawks.
Unfortunately, that's on the list for teams he hasn't played for. But he was not an official reason, but where else to enjoy it? Like I said, it's hot. The sun, the beaches. One of the first things the Panthers did with the cup was take it to a famous bar in Sunrise, fill the bowl with beer, and just start trying to pour it in people's mouths. Very unsuccessfully, because it's kind of hard to aim. And then,
I'll say this. I want to add this on, though, Dylan. I think, to that point, people in Florida, for one point, are transplants, right? A lot of people who live there aren't from there. And I think, the teams
my parents
included.
My parents included.
The teams have the added pressure. Yeah, they want to support or at least give the people who come from hockey cities good hockey. And I remember when the Panthers
I would argue the opposite. I think they have less pressure. The thing about Edmonton, because when you're in Canada, it's been over 30 years since a team has won a Stanley Cup from Canada. That's all the pressure in the world.
The most wild part about this, I forget who tweeted it, but I saw a tweet today, and it was from 2014, and it said a U.S.-based team has won the Grey Cup, which is the Canadian Football League Super Bowl. A U.S.-based team has won the Grey Cup more recently than a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. So shout out to the Baltimore Stallions of the CFL. But he quote tweeted it today and said, "This is still true 10 years later." That's crazy to me. And the CFL doesn't even have American teams anymore.
There's
all the teams that could have done it too in that time.
There's a stat I'm going to pull up for you guys. Another whack thing. So Corey Perry plays for the Oilers.
Good. I'm glad he lost.
Well, in the past 5 years, I'm going to have to try to remember who he played for. So this year, he lost in the Cup final with the Oilers. Last year, he lost to the Leafs to give them their first playoff series win since, I think, the 60s it was.
Yeah, he also got ran out of Chicago. Don't.
Year before,
don't get that-
2022, lost in the Cup final. Year before, 2021, lost in Cup final. Year before, 2020, lost in the Cup final. This guy has lost 4 Stanley Cup finals in 5 years.
Keep
And
it
it
happen
just-
to a better guy. Round of applause for the great Corey Perry.
It's
And
that
also
just
the
got to do
Predators
something
won
to
in
you.
2017 as well in the Stanley Cup, in the Western Conference Finals as well.
Yeah,
So
it's
shout out Corey Perry.
if you get him on your team, you're basically guaranteed to not win the cup. So
No wonder the Hawks signed him. We were trying to tank. We were trying to tank for Celebrini, and we didn't get him.
But yeah,
he had to go and grope somebody. Bum.
Joy. But yeah, I'm happy with the Panthers winning. Good for them. I'm indifferent to either team. I'm got to figure out something I'm going to do for the next couple months until college football and hockey start back up again, because I think that basically covers all professional sports besides the MLB.
You get the Olympics. The Olympics are coming up.
Yes, we do have the Olympics coming up, and
hey, if Maya goes to the Olympics, we got to get her on here.
Oh yeah, we definitely.
Definitely.
And we got to do another hour version of the Olympic broadcast where we just pick something to watch and just watch
Make it something really random. Please. That would be hilarious.
Unfortunately for me, not men's soccer because Brazil is not in there. So
no, we can just watch something.
Yeah, you got Copa America,
now the problem
America's
that's
way
going to
more
happen here for us, at least being in the U.S. or even in Brazil, France is several hours ahead of us, so we need to be on an early afternoon, probably on a weekend. Which for Gus, I know is going to be really hard, especially.
Yeah, that's hard for me too.
Yeah, because there's going to be nothing on an American evening because it's overnight in Paris.
I kind of like, it's better than when it's Australia, New Zealand, or Japan when I have to wake up at 3 a.m.
The last few years,
I'm glad you have at 1 p.m.
Can we ban Asia from ever hosting any major sporting events again? I absolutely cannot stand when Asia or Australia. Like
60% of the world's population lives in Asia, though. How are you going to ban them from hosting?
I want to watch sports on my convenient time. When it's
aren't they coming to America within the next couple years?
I know that is the most American viewpoint.
And
absolutely. Yeah,
pretty sure the Olympics are going to be coming to okay, let me see.
LA in 2028.
Okay, yeah. So that's not horrible. It's only a 3-hour difference.
And then of course World Cup 2026 in the US.
Oh, that'll be a good one.
We're getting everybody there.
We got to go to a game.
Hell yeah, we do. We're doing it.
Hey Dylan, if you need something to watch though, we do have Copa America in the United States right now.
I'll give it. Gus, I see you shaking your head no.
Oh my God! Yesterday, Jesus Christ, what a horrible game!
Gus doesn't want to talk about the Brazilians because Ronaldinho already.
I'm gonna be honest, Gus, I didn't know you all.
Don't mind what he said. It was a marketing thing that he did for
Wait, y'all didn't score on Costa Rica? What the hell?
What?
Y'all didn't score in Costa Rica? How did that happen?
We didn't score in Costa Rica. It was a horrible game. Brazil has a big leadership problem. Brazil squad right now is a full of good guys. But good guys don't win championship. You need to have you need greatness.
So what I'm hearing is Ronaldinho was right.
Yes. I mean, even though it was a marketing stand, he was right. Brazil lacks personality. Like Vini Jr. is a great player, doesn't have personality. Rodrigo's a great player, doesn't have personality. Savinho is a great player, doesn't have personality. Rafinha is a great player, doesn't have personality. It feels all Brazilian players all the same. Like they're good in a kind of more collective team, but they don't have individualities. But Brazil was always about individuality. That's why Hendrick was sold to Real Madrid, and now why Estevão is going to Chelsea. Individuality, individual talent, the spice, the dribble. That's what Brazil is known for. Not tactics, not organized soccer. It's about individuality and like the spice and dribbling.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Ronaldinho is the best player I have personally ever seen, and he was right, and I think he was right, and I think that it's a shame because Brazil has a guy right now who should win the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, Vini Jr.
Yeah, and they're still so bad and unorganized, and I don't understand. Now, I do have a question though about the Costa Rica match. Did Keylor Navas have like a blinder of a game, or was Brazil just bad?
I only watched the reactions post game because I was focused on the Vols, but what I saw was
Fair enough.
Brazil had
Look at that. The Duvall family is more important than his country.
Exactly.
Everybody else.
Yeah, that's how much it means to be a Tennessee Vol.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be honest. Definitely, if it was like a World Cup match, maybe. But Copa America is like the AC. It's like the SEC championship for baseball. You watch it, but it's not as important.
Sure. Yeah.
We all know there's a better trophy to get.
Like for example, like it probably it means more for US this Copa America than Brazil. Because
absolutely, like that's what I was thinking. Because it would be huge to win Copa America for the US.
For US would be huge. Would be a major trophy to win outside of North America. With teams like Brazil and Argentina within the competition, and in your home country. Brazil right now is trying to find an identity. Of course, without Neymar, it's still hard to find. Brazil is within his third coach in this World Cup cycle, and it seemed all a mess because the Brazilian Confederation president was waiting for Carlo Ancelotti, which he never get an indication that he was going to coach Brazil. He knew he renewed his contract for Real Madrid. That he fired the interim coach that he hired, waiting for Real Madrid's coach to come, and then he hired a coach for São Paulo, who was, I guess, the best option because he won the Brazilian Cup and all. But he was a mid coach who 2 years ago was coaching a team who's on the second division. He was a fine coach, but he's not a top candidate. So all of this, shows why Brazil's lack of identity with this lack of individuality on the field and this kind of mess out off the field. Of course, I hope Brazil gets better during the Copa America, and Brazil, of course, still the favorite. But I'm not excited. I'm still not convinced this team is ready for the World Cup. A lot has to happen in 2 years.
Yeah, I will say on the contrary, though, I was impressed with the U.S. on Sunday night against Bolivia, coming out with a 2-0 win. Christian Pulisic with just an absolutely beautiful strike in the third minute. And, of course, U.S. never turned back, and they did exactly what they needed to get off to a really, really good start. All you got to do now is beat Panama, and you're on to the next group, regardless of what happens with Uruguay.
I mean, you need to fire Greg Berhalter, though. Do not let any Copa America success distract you from the fact that Berhalter needs to go.
This is true. This is very,
but you guys know that if he wins Copa America, he's staying until 2020.
That's why I don't want us to win.
Yeah.
And as backwards as that sounds, he needs to be gone. This team has quality that deserves better than Greg Berhalter.
From what I saw the highlights of the Bolivia game and also watching the US-Brazil game, it feels like a lot is on Pulisic's shoulders, especially the offense. It feels like if Pulisic is on a good night, inspired, US does good. But if Pulisic is on an off night, US is in trouble, and you cannot rely on one player. You can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Bear Walker
And-
just is not a good tactician, and you can
And-
tell.
And to wrap up this podcast, it's almost midnight here. I want to go
Holy
more
crap.
specific to Jason because as a Chelsea fan, what are you feeling about Estevão going to Chelsea? Because I watched him last couple of matches. I don't know if you saw him. He's playing a level that mirrors Endrick. The talent, the personality. Of course, he's probably only coming next year when he turns 18 or something like that.
Yeah, he'll
But
be coming
still,
after the next season.
yeah, I think but still though, if I
think
was
same
a
thing
Chelsea,
with Kendry Paez too from Ecuador.
but still, if I was a Chelsea fan and I watched the last couple of Palmeiras games, I will be excited because he's now after Hendrick is gone, he feel like he's shining. He's he's taking over. He is he's playing like a really kind of developed player. Like I saw against Vasco. Vasco defenders were like all over the place. They couldn't keep up with him.
So here, I have mixed feelings about Estevão Willian, and none of them are his fault. None of the negative things are his fault. I think he himself has been brilliant in when he has played. The concerns that I have are paying so much money for somebody that has played like 30 matches at senior level. And now, obviously, like you said, recently he has been shining. And I think, he's supposed to be better than even Endrick was, which is crazy to me, considering how good Endrick is. But I'm excited to see what we've got in Estevão Willian. And I think that the primary concern that I have is, okay, well, what levels is he going to be looking up to? Because Chelsea just goes out and buys, children. It's the Chelsea daycare, not the Chelsea Football Club nowadays. And it's infuriating, but like I said, it's not his fault. He didn't buy himself. And so he is somebody that I think is going to be very special. And I think he's going to have a terrific career. I think the right wing is set with between he and Kendry Paez both.
So learn Estevão. I know it's hard for
Estevão.
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 Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is unrelated note. Are any of you watching Chile Argentina right now? This is a crazy match. It's 0-0 right now. In the 70th minute.
I didn't realize that it was getting that late. I literally have just been sitting here.
Another thing that a lot of pundits here in Brazil are commenting is that the field of the stadiums of Copa America, they had to be shortened because it's in football stadiums, and it's even not with the measure that FIFA kind of regulates. So CONMEBOL had to kind of improvise a little, and a lot of people are criticizing and saying that that's why games are not as good as probably they should, because the field is short. I don't know how much extent that is accurate, but there's a lot of criticism about that.
Well, we have the NFL and they don't.
Yes.
Well, not even that anymore, because Gus is going to be going to an NFL game here, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Yes, hopefully. WDF, please, because there's no tickets. There's not any more tickets. So I'm refreshing every day the Philadelphia Eagles media credentials website, because I want to go to work that game so bad. And I was at the stadium. I even made a video on my Twitter to show what American fans can expect when they watch the game from Corinthians Stadium. And from what I heard, they chose Corinthians Stadium because they have a bigger bench and their locker rooms are bigger than, for example, Palmeiras game. And also, Corinthians Stadium probably has the surrounding atmosphere, the closest one to an NFL stadium, because a lot of Brazilian stadiums, for example, Palmeiras and São Paulo stadiums, are literally in the middle of the city. So there wouldn't be a place for example, tailgate and parking and stuff. And Corinthians Stadium definitely has more of the atmosphere. And I cannot wait for September 6th. I cannot wait for that day.
I think the bigger problem, circling back, is not the pitch size. I think it's the pitch quality. And let's not get lost in that either. The pitch quality, the overlaid sod and stuff, it's fine, but it's kind of patchy. And when it's patchy, it can kind of bubble up. And I've been a little concerned that I've started to see the lackluster quality of the field start to play into it. So I don't think the size of the pitch is the problem. I think it's the quality, personally.
They've been kind of stemming off back into football. There have been a lot of theories as to saying that the reason ACL and Achilles tears are up are because field quality is down. So it's not just it's an all kinds of field problem.
Yeah, definitely when it comes to turf. Turf is
turf
is
ridiculous.
a cancer.
Turf
is a cancer.
You slide on that with
Oh,
bare
yeah.
skin, it'll
Oh,
take
yeah.
a chunk
Oh,
out of
yeah.
your leg.
Oh yeah, Palmeiras Stadium, for example, they had to replace their field because their turf was horrible. And I even saw that firsthand because even Palmeiras practice fields were horrible, and I saw that firsthand. So I know how.
God, Di Maria should be ashamed of himself. He's out here rolling around doing.
Di Maria still plays. Jesus Christ. Oh my God! But this Argentina team is old. Like Di Maria feels like he's like playing forever for Argentina, and he's always a player that you expect more than he delivered, and that's incredible.
That's the Manchester United way, don't you know, Gus?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Like Man United ruins so many players' careers. Like if
You can take the player out of Manchester United, but you can't take the Manchester United out of the player.
Great point.
Absolutely. But I guess, what else has happened in Brazilian soccer, with Rio Branco, the Tigers.
That's true. Let me wrap up with my beloved Rio Branco. They lost 2-1 on the
Viva
road.
Tigres.
Yeah, so in the 11th streak will last longer than Rio Branco undefeated.
We lost.
Really? So Rio Branco and in the 11 ended their undefeated streak together. How cute.
We lost. We lost on Saturday night 1-0 to Orange County.
Yeah, we lost 2-1 for Capivariano on the road. We suffered. We conceded a goal at 88 minutes. The coach was not happy about it. He today talked to the players. Showing video of the game and tell that the team was not as focused as they should. Talking about how they have to be more focused, especially on little moments, especially on the defensive side of it. And I believe the team will be better next week when they face Red Bull Bragantino #2 team. They have a #2 team, like Red Bull New York Red Bulls have a #2 team. They also have a second team here that plays in the Paulista Cup. It's like an under-23 team, and we have to win. We have to win. It's a must-win match for us to be in a good spot to go to the next round. So
right.
It's hard. It's never fun to lose, but we lost in the right time. It's still early in the tournament, and there's a lot of things to fix. And that Coach Malic is gonna fix as well.
Yeah, and obviously they're playing tougher competition, and
they'll
get better. It's house money.
Yeah, fans have to understand that they're playing with teams with one or even two divisions above them state-wise. So,
there are two things I do want to shout real quick. Shout MLB for the Rookwood Field game last week, especially after the death of Willie Mays. It was a really, really fitting tribute to him. Of course, it's just crazy how that worked out timing-wise with his passing in that game. A beautiful tribute to him, and the broadcast was really cool how they did it with different time periods. Just a tribute to him and a tribute to the Negro Leagues and what all those players went through.
One thing I'm pointing out, this is probably what MLB is doing best in the recent years. This kind of special games, Rickwood Field, Field of Dreams in Iowa. That's one thing MLB got it right. Make those
Yeah,
kind of special games throughout the season that people feel different. That's what MLB's
it's
having it right.
that's
Baseball has an aura about it that no other
yeah.
sport has.
And it's like baseball does it with the Field of Dreams games and the other special ones. Hockey has the Winter Classic and the Stadium Series games every year. It's every sport needs to find like that classic vibe that they had
I want
in
to
the
see an
origin
NBA
days.
game. I want to see an NBA game at Rucker Park in New York. That'd
Yeah,
be
I was
fun.
gonna say that NBA. I think the NFL doesn't have the space for that because it's such a short regular season in terms of number of games. But the
Yeah.
NBA has to find their Field of Dreams, that Stadium Series. The NBA desperately needs to find that mojo, that game, because
They
that's what
need
the
an
NBA
NFL game at the Friday Night Lights Stadium,
Yeah,
like
why
Odessa,
not?
Texas, or
Or
something.
like what
I don't know if logistically that's even possible.
what one thing that the NHL does is they have like a poll on who the greatest local hockey community is, and they just like what makes this local community great, and whichever city, town, whatever wins it, a preseason game is played there. So
I remember this.
I'll use the Knoxville Civic Coliseum for example. If let's say Knoxville decided to apply for this and try to claim itself as a very proud hockey town.
Listen, a lot of people in the Knoxville Icebergs fan group on Facebook would tell you that we are a very proud hockey town.
Yeah, but I don't mean this as an insult. Just like places in Minnesota you ain't even heard of are 1,000 times more excited about even lower levels of hockey. But anyways, it's they bring professional teams in these like hodunk crappy little barns, and it's a lot of fun. So the NFL has the international games where they're going to like England, Germany, Brazil. That's about as close as they can get right now. The Friday Night Lights Stadium would be fun. The issue, Gus, I think it was you that pointed out, football stadiums are kind of big. You need to have the capacity for that. Preseason hockey, it works out because, hate to say it, nobody really cares. You can fill a minor league barn with a bunch of passionate hockey fans. It's
think
hard
that,
to.
No, go ahead and finish. Dylan.
It's hard to fill, I'll say, like a high school football stadium with. Well, you can fill a high school stadium with football fans. That's guaranteed. But like, it's not feasible given the infrastructure.
Yeah.
But going to your point, I think NFL preseason games should embrace that. Playing on high school stadiums on Friday nights. I think that would be
Why not?
better.
Yeah.
I think that's better. I think that's what would make preseason games more interesting because let's face it, now more than ever, NFL
Nobody
teams
cares.
nobody caring about NFL preseason games.
No.
There's this new trend that Rams coach started that is like he's not putting any starter, any. Sean McVay's not putting any starter on the preseason games, and more coaches are going to do that. So instead of making just another random game at your stadium, and Argentina just scored finally, you can put on a high school stadium and make that a special night, and I bet people would care more about than a random cheap preseason game at your stadium.
Yeah. While we're on the idea of like an NFL, there was a topic I wanted to bring up real quick. So there's actually a lawsuit being heard this week surrounding Sunday tickets. And basically the NFL's being sued because they're basically arguing that NFL Sunday tickets is a monopoly for out-of-market brands.
Okay.
And basically, if the NFL is ruled against, they might have to basically dismantle Sunday tickets and make every game more easily accessible. That's not pirating. And Jason, I know especially you have a lot of and Dylan, you all have a lot of experience with this. Moving to Knoxville, being out of you left the NDTV market. You not Dylan not being in the Baltimore market. how would you feel about that? So you're not stuck watching the Titans.
No, I wasn't stuck. I was not stuck watching your bullshit ass franchise. Trust me. Listen. I can stream my home networks on the DirecTV app, so it really didn't bother me too much. But it definitely would be helpful to have more options.
And I'm pretty sure in Knoxville I was able to get my Ravens. I'll worry about that problem in a couple months when it's actually football season. But it's what I think should happen is I'll use the Orioles as an example because their broadcast company, MASN, Mid-Atlantic Sports Network. I hope I got that acronym right. You can watch an Orioles game through that app wherever you are. They also do it with the Nationals, and that was a whole lawsuit thing. But they're on the app, and I'm able to watch them at home, in Florida, wherever. That being said, I also have a subscription, or my dad has a subscription to MLB, so I could watch them through that. What teams need to do, because cable is basically dead. They've reinvented it through the power of streaming and buying all these streaming services. It's honestly stupid, but what they should do is you should be able to. I'm reinventing the wheel right here. But streaming services need to make it so you can just buy the ability to watch your team.
Yep. No matter where you are, either.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Knoxville, I had trouble watching the White Sox when they played against the Braves, which makes sense, but also against the Reds. That's like 4 hours away. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I had a similar problem where I wasn't able to watch the Capitals play the Tampa Bay Lightning. How far away is Tampa from Knoxville? Like
too far.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous.
It's not the market.
Far enough that we flew to Tampa. I flew to Tampa.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, it'll be interesting how that runs. And the other NFL thing I was going to bring up, just going to be kind of like a funny little one. Travis Kelce finally made his debut on the Taylor Swift's Era Tour. So
yeah, I saw that.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I know I sounded kind of frustrated. It's been quiet enough regarding that and the whole thing, or just the whole Taylor Swift and the NFL thing, where let me explain myself. Promote the hell out of it. She alone is a massive piece of advertising.
Hell yeah, she is.
Yeah.
My one issue is I kind of have the same issue with Morgan Wallen. I see people walking around wearing Tennessee stuff or Kansas City Chiefs stuff. I give them, I don't say go Chiefs because I hate them. They beat my Ravens. I give them a go Vols, and they're just like, oh no, I'm just a Morgan Wallen fan. It's the Chiefs are now becoming more of a brand than a team. The New York Yankees have that same issue. And because I like sports, it kind of frustrates me. Call me gatekeepery. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I see all this off-brand Yankees and Chiefs merch just because of how recognizable that logo has become, that a lot of people don't even associate with a team anymore. And I'm worried that might happen long-term with the Chiefs, if that makes sense.
I mean, it's an interesting point to think about because for me, I see that a lot with NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like NASCAR merch is a fashion brand for a lot of folks that have never watched a race, but they love like old school NASCAR jackets, shirts.
The whole vintage Depop stuff. I don't get. You're paying $400 for a dirty old T-shirt someone bought at a Kiss concert in 1997. What the hell are you doing?
Are you trying to call me old?
Yeah, vintage stores are super expensive.
It's not worth it.
Especially considering that they got their entire supply from a Goodwill 2 years ago for $3.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say
this has turned into something else. You're a NASCAR fan, so it works out.
Yeah.
Um,
Of course, it might be sacrilegious that I have a Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon hat, but I didn't grow up with that rivalry, so it is what it is. I can respect both racers, but that segues me to the last thing I want to talk about real quick.
And then I got one more thing as well, but you do your thing.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, last week I said the race was in Nashville this past weekend. That wasn't. It was in New Hampshire. I got my end tracks mixed up. And it was a very wet race. And first and foremost, shout out to NASCAR. They actually got a full race in this week because of the wet weather tire. They actually raced on a damp racetrack, and it was chaos. Straight chaos, wrecks every couple of laps. Not the cleanest race by any imagination, but the best driver won, Christopher Bell. I mean, he has, out of the last 11 races he has raced at New Hampshire, he has won 7. I mean, it's just insane to see one driver dominate a track like this. So shout out to him. And, Phoenix, got to remember with this stupid championship format that NASCAR has, one race playoff at the end. If you make it to the Final Four, you have an equal shot to win it. Phoenix is a similar track. So Bell, if he makes it to the Final Four, I think he can win it all. But NASCAR does actually come to Nashville this week to race here at Nashville Super Speedway. And one last NASCAR note I want to bring up, Chase Briscoe will be taking over Martin Truex Jr.'s car next year, the 19, which I think is a great fit. I think he will win a championship in that car because Briscoe has been in a bad car at Stewart-Haas Racing, a team that's falling apart, going away at the end of the year. He's going to actually be with Joe Gibbs Racing and a good car, and I think he's going to succeed very highly. Oh, wait, Dylan.
All right, so we'll talk. I've been talking with you guys about this for the past couple weeks, and I'm thinking maybe we'll talk about it the week it does happen. Do you guys pre-order NCAA 25? Yeah,
I have not. I gotta buy a PS5 first.
It does. They find more reason to buy it. Whatever. I'm pretty sure they can get on whatever you have. I'm pretty sure. Actually, no, they're not porting it into Nintendo Switch because. You'd think they would.
I wouldn't want to play it because I have a Nintendo Switch. I wouldn't want to play it on it.
I'm not sure if it's going to Nintendo. To be honest, I doubt it is because EA has a weird. Yeah, it's not. Plus, like all the sports ports to Nintendo devices have always been weird. Madden on the Wii in like 2010 is one of the worst games I've ever played, and it's. We'll talk about it more. The week it comes out, I guess. I think July.
Who's your first Road to Glory gonna be with?
Tennessee, of course. And then
you are the police. I will start as a coordinator for Tennessee, but I will not start as the coach.
Yeah, you gotta bitch yourself up. My favorite rebuild ever. I started as OC for Tennessee, then went to UMass and then UConn as head coach, and that was such a fun experience.
I never learned how to play Madden.
My favorite rebuild.
I never learned how to play games until the past 5 years. So when they were actually coming out, I didn't play them. A little annoyed because I do have a copy of NCAA 14 at home that I'm hanging on to, and I have been. Every once in a while, I'd pop it in the old 360 that it's a miracle it still functions. I can thaw an Uncrustable on it. It gets so hot. Swear to God.
I can't wait to see what this looks like. And at some point, I'm going to have to decide whether or not to pull the trigger on a PS5. But
treat yourself.
3 hours of nonstop radio,
silliness,
nonstop podcasting, nonstop celebrating because it was a Vols win party on this historic episode of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. For Dylan Becker, Gus Tomazeli, Jason Wyrick, I'm Nick Hill, and the national champions are clad in big orange.
Yeah.
Have a good night.